Hi everyone and welcome to Otakusphere Weekly episode 10. I am Karen and with me tonight are Sal.
Hi.
Lifesong.
Hello.
LB.
Hello.
And special guest Neontaster.
Hey.
Okay, if you're not familiar with Neontaster, basically if you see someone getting their ass kicked with logic on Twitter, it's probably Neon doing it. It might be someone else, but chances are good that it's him. Okay, so we're going to move on to our general Otaku Chat. Something we've been meaning to talk about for a while is the broadcast dubs that Funimation has been putting out. So they put up the first couple of episodes of the broadcast dub for Netoge, or And You Thought There Was Never a Girl Online, as we call it on this podcast, and Shonen Maid, so we gave those a shot. LB, I know you've watched them, so why didn't you start us off?
Just the broad general overview is that I really liked these dubs. I thought they did a really good job with them. I didn't have any issues with them. I thought they sounded good. In Never a Girl Online, Akko in particular, I thought they captured that really well. The localization I felt was good, was done well, and the jokes really translated well over. Did anybody feel differently, or is that like the general opinion of the panel?
Well, first of all, Life and Sal, you guys probably didn't have a chance to watch these, right?
I watched about half of an episode of the two shows, and I watched them a week ago, so I kind of remember.
Okay.
I assume that they were only open to like the subscribers, like with the Funimation simul dubs.
Oh,
I think they're available a week later. I could be wrong.
Oh, cool.
Okay, well, so Life, you've watched enough to have an opinion, albeit you probably don't remember your opinion, but...
Yeah, I thought they were relatively good. The one thing I do remember is just watching, and it's a little nitpicky thing, which probably goes to show that, you know, they are fairly well made, and that is, I still always catch that the voices don't really, like, that they have to rush certain lines, and they have to, I don't even know, like, the timing just isn't right in some of the scenes, in particular in Netoge. I actually thought the voice acting in Shonen Maid was solid. I didn't see any problems with it at all. Some of the voices are hilarious. Maybe out of character hilarious.
Yeah, I thought Shonen Maid was a little bit smoother. I mean, I think I agree with LB. I think Netoge had a good localization, like the way they chose to translate the jokes. But it was like sometimes they were just trying to rush the joke in so it would match the lip flaps, and it didn't work 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But this is the first time I'm watching a broadcast dub, so if I understand correctly, they're dubbing these now, but they're gonna like make fixes to them before they go to DVD or something to that effect?
That's what I've been wondering. Ever since they did the simul dub thing in the past. Like, are these the final dubs, or do they actually fix them up?
No. They do an initial dub with the broadcast version, and then when they have the final DVD version, they go in, and if there's anything that doesn't work, they clean it up for the DVD version.
Well, this is a rough draft. They're off to a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought both the dubs were pretty well done, too. The one thing I couldn't help noticing is that it seems like there are certain types of English language anime voice actors that you run into all the time, because in both shows I was like, oh, I know that person, that's so-and-so from, you know, this show, and then I went and looked at the credits, and I was like, oh wow, I actually haven't heard any of these people before, but I was sure I'd seen them all in like 50 different anime. So I don't know quite how that works, but it seems like every 5 or 10 years or so they recast, like, okay, and this is going to be the cool-sounding older guy for all the anime. And,
well, the thing is... Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
The thing is with the broadcast dubs is that because they do so many of them at the same time, it's not like they can cast, like, their A-list talent in every single one, because they have to do them very fast. So they have to... So as far as I'm aware, they're bringing in a lot more, like, newer talent just to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, but see, that's what's so weird about it.
There's a gap.
I mean, I think I can say something to that, and that is, you know, even with Japanese voice acting, there's a lot of different types, like character types, that people try to act out, and I think it's the same with English. You just there are certain types that, like, you know, like with Madoka, when he starts speaking with the smooth British, almost British accent, you're just like, yeah, of course, that's exactly what he's going to do.
Well, I thought that was actually Crispin Freeman at first, and then when Do people know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I know.
Okay. Who I always think of as the voice of Tyler and Irresponsible Captain Tyler, first and foremost. But, and I thought the kid who was doing Chihiro, I was like, oh, was he the one who did Yahiko and Kenshin? No, wrong on both counts. It's just they sounded same. It's just if they're bringing in kind of talent, kind of from the farm team, really, to fill out these dubs, you'd think you'd be hearing lots of different voices, but it always sounds the same to me, and I'm wondering if that's the show or if that's a reflection of the fact that my hearing isn't very good. I don't know. So.
Oh, quick question, LB.
Yeah.
I take it that the thing that sets apart Funimation's broadcast dub versus their simul dubs is that the simul dubs use footage from the Blu-ray and home release, right?
I'm a little confused by your terminology, because I thought that they were pretty much the same thing, a broadcast dub and the simul dub. I thought that those were basically the same thing, so I'm a little confused.
Yeah, because I heard that from someone. Someone said that since the simul dubs came out like a few weeks, maybe like 2-3 weeks after that episode was broadcasted when it was subbed.
Yeah, the simul dubs and the broadcast dubs are the same thing. They come out they start about 4 to 5 weeks after the series first airs in Japan. That's what they're using as their lead time to, dub the first episodes and get it going.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm glad we cleared that up because I was getting confused there for a moment too. Just before we move on from this, one thing I'll say, and I still think the Netoge dub was good, so don't take this the wrong way, LP. But the girl playing Akko, going along with there being certain types of characters in anime dubs, like whenever there's a girl character, she has to sound like this, and it always strikes me as being kind of unnatural, even though they're trying to capture the sound of the Japanese. Like it very rarely sounds natural. Like, they very rarely cast an English language actress who can kind of do that tone and have it not sound like she's forcing it. So I did notice it a little bit in Netoge, but, I think she did a good job regardless. It was just like, why don't they let her speak in her natural register?
I think that depends on the acting director and how they tell them to act.
I did notice that too, but at the same time, I've heard so many voice actresses not even try to do that I actually think that the forced anime voice is better than a lot of what I've heard. So I don't know how I really feel.
Because at least it's more reminiscent of the original language, how she sounds in the original language, right?
Yeah, at least the character kind of fits. At least I'm not sitting there laughing hysterically at how out of character it is.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, really, because in the Japanese language versus the English language, the way women speak in particular is very different. So to bridge that gap, kind of screwed either way. Okay. So I'm not going to switch to watching things in English this season, but I'm glad the dubs are there and they're good for the people who are interested. So I don't know, maybe I'll check out more broadcast dubs as they come around. I feel good that I at least, have seen some now, so I'm not completely ignorant. Okay, so we're going to move on to more general otaku chat, and because Neon has been sitting here very quietly while we discuss dub actors, why don't we start with you? What have you been doing this week that's been otaku related? Or not otaku related, if you want to get saucy.
Well, I actually got my very first figure this week, believe it or not. I know, right? I was never really a big figure person. I mean, I only recently moved into an apartment that actually has the capacity to display things and have people walk in it, because I used to live in New York in a teeny tiny apartment, and now I live elsewhere in a slightly larger place. But I actually got a present. Somebody gave me a figure. It's a Ghost in the Shell, new design, Kusanagi Figma, and it's quite nice, actually. Is
it a standalone complex one or a Rise or?
It's the Arise one, I don't know, like this is like a new, like, because I knew, how they come, and they all have like the different faces and all kinds of different hands, and there's lots of different like things you can do with it. It's kind of fun, and I find myself like just playing with a doll. I'm in my 30s. And I'm in my apartment playing with a doll.
Yeah, you thought you knew, then you opened the package, and 5 hours later, then you knew.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And it's I don't know. Sometimes, like, because I'm very unashamed of my sort of anime fandom, but sometimes like I'll I'll catch myself doing a thing, and I'll be like, I cannot believe I'm actually doing this. I'm an adult.
See, it starts innocently enough, but next thing you know, you'll be like Wilson, and you'll have an entire figure full of like Saber Brides and Rin Tosakas, and you'll be getting personalized holiday notes from online figure shops.
I know, at least like, and it's the little lies you tell yourself. I'm like, okay, it's a doll, but she has like a gun, and she's a cop.
Oh, you get over that eventually.
Yeah, pretty soon I'm like, I got like Sailor Moon and Madoka, and
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing that I love, and I love reminding her about this, is that before my wife and I started dating, she had no idea that anime figures existed. She just didn't know. She liked anime, but I've introduced her into a whole new different thing. So, but yeah, now she knows that figures exist. She orders like 5 of them a year, and I like pointing out to her, it's like, yeah, guess what? You're coming over to our side.
Yeah, exactly. And I gotta say, like, it's actually sort of an impressively sort of high quality product. I mean, I know you can also get like crap, but
a lot of them are amazingly detailed.
Yeah, and just like, I don't know, like the amount of accessories that come with them and stuff was just a really nice sort of thing for a gentleman to own.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of make fun of the amount of figures that Wilson owns, but I never really say, you should stop buying all these figures, honey, because they do look really cool. I mean...
Oh, man, wait till you get into the statue figures, like the Alter brand stuff. Like, those are pretty nice, too.
We have
or the real action hero dolls.
Fall down a black hole of merchandise. I know I'm planning a trip to Japan next year, and I'm gonna have to bring like a really, really big suitcase, I think.
Ooh, what are your plans so far on the itinerary?
I mean, nothing yet. It's just that I guess this is semi-relevant. I'm studying for the JLPT right now, and then if I pass, when I pass, I figured I'd reward myself with a trip because I've never been.
Nice. Best of luck with the test.
Thank you. It's in December, so I mean it's still a ways off, but they have them once a year, so that's the only time I can actually take it.
Yeah, I'm jealous because, I mean, I took 2 years of college Japanese, but that was a while ago already, and I do periodically review, but I've thought of trying to take a level of the JLPT, but unless I were to take like the easiest level, self-study really isn't going to happen for me so much right now. So whenever you post about learning Japanese, I'm like, oh. But I mean, yeah, I'm happy for you.
Thanks. And I know, like, when I was in New York, I could not find like a good sort of a good place to get classes and stuff. And I live in DC now, and essentially instantly when I moved, I found a really good place, and it's right near where I work. So, yeah, it kind of worked out well in that sense. And when I was studying by myself, I kept running into walls. Like, I had no one to bounce off of, ask questions, and that's it's like just a huge improvement over that. So yeah, but
yeah, maybe I'll be able to find some kind of class around here. But yeah, I really haven't found anything good either, because I could probably swing doing like a once weekly class or something, but I haven't found anything yet. So maybe someday. All right, so good luck with your descent into figure purgatory.
Thank you. Yes, I know, right? I gotta clear some shelf space. And
Wilson and I could probably afford to go to Japan if he wasn't buying so many goddamn figures.
Wait, but what about your daughter? Does he need to invest into taking care of her?
Oh God, don't even get started.
No, those are daddy's dolls, honey.
Oh, we've had this conversation already about plush toys and everything. Because even though he's the big figure collector, but I still have some plushies. I've got like my Penguin plushes and my Sailor Moon plushes, and I'm like, okay, how are we going to make her understand that these are mommy's dolls and she's not to touch them? Anyway, but enough about dolls. Sal, what'd you do this week? Anything relevant?
I got to go to a convention this weekend it was called MegaCon, which is like one of Florida's biggest conventions for like anime, comic book, and film.
That's cool.
And I mostly hanged around like the anime panels, which they actually got Ryo Horikawa, the voice actor of Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z, to appear. And there was a few panels with him doing stuff, and they even had a segment where him and a couple of Funimation folks were there. And they were kind of talking about the differences between like how voice acting in Japan works versus voice acting in North America.
Can you share some of those insights with us?
So, like, one example was where Horikawa said how, because in Japan they record with the entire cast and in the same room. It says that it takes 4 hours to record at least one 20-minute anime episode, whereas for recording one episode of a 20-minute anime in America would take 25 hours.
Huh. I'm trying to think about how the logistics of that work. Like, I've always thought it sounded... Go ahead.
I can tell you a big part of it is the fact that the United States is huge.
Well, it's mainly since usually when they record anime in North America, I know that usually they record the lines one at a time instead of having all the actors in one room like they do in Japan, which...
Well, back to what you said, Lifesong. I mean, the thing is, everybody has to go to the studio anyway, so it's not like they're... I mean, there are different voice acting studios, but...
Yeah, I think that there's just... I mean, listening to voice actors at conventions, it just sounds like for a lot of them, there's a long travel time involved. I don't know how much of that's really a problem or not. I've wondered why voice actors do things the way they do in North America. Every time I hear more, I'm like, well, why are you doing it that way? And then I think, okay, well, I'm sure there are some logistical problems. I really don't know that much, though.
Yeah, I figured traveling's one, and maybe how much they can afford for for the studio they rent out for like the voice acting.
Yeah, well, it's interesting though because a lot of people think of the Japanese dub as inherently superior, but it's like it seems like the English dub is actually a lot more painstaking when you think about it, which doesn't necessarily make it better, but
I believe.
I mean, but that's. Oh, sorry. Go on, Neon.
I believe, I don't know if this is entirely true, but I think sometimes they also, in Japan, they'll record the dialogue sometimes and then later match the animation to it, which means that you can just get like 4 people together who have a scene and let them vibe off each other and read their lines and record them and then go and animate that later. Whereas in the North American, you got to sort of painstakingly go like, okay, I need you to fit this line into this sequence of animation. So we're going to do this right now. And I actually studied, one of the things I studied in college was post-production film. And sometimes you got to redub audio, like even live action film audio over the lines, and that takes forever because you just have to do it again and again and again and again, and just look at play the sequence over and over until it just looks right. Like your brain is very good at sort of telling you when something is synced in a sort of believable fashion. So sometimes you just got to sit there for an hour reading the line again over and over and over until you just kind of clicks with the picture. So I think sometimes, especially with these like ensemble shows, like if you look at Bakuon, I believe they just get the 4 girls together and have them just like have fun and read their lines and then go and animate that after it's all done.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I know they did that for the next episode previews in Cowboy Bebop. They just let the voice actors improvise them. And what was amazing about that is then when they went and dubbed them in English, they actually sounded good in English too, even though it was completely improvised. So that was kind of random and neither here nor there, really.
Oh yeah, another random thing that happened too at the panel. So there was another panel that was just the Vegeta voice actors. And there was a part where Horikawa actually complimented Chris Savat for the fact that he's voiced like more than 4 characters in one anime title, saying that for him he could barely, where for Horikawa he said that he could barely voice 2 characters in an anime production.
That's cool. It's almost like surprising to me that the Japanese voice actors are even aware of the English voice actors. Maybe he's just being nice. I don't know.
Well, I'm guessing it was maybe through like various conventions where they've probably met up and stuff.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Did you buy anything cool at the con? Because that's what's important here.
Well, I was mostly going for the panels because I was on a limited budget, so most of my money went into food.
So you actually went for, like, the culture.
Yeah.
And not to just bring back a huge bag full of swag.
I did try this ramen at the con called Super Cola flavor.
Wait a minute. You had cola-flavored ramen?
No, ramen.
Ramen soda. Oh.
It was called, it was called Super Soda. But for some reason, it tasted like more of a blueberry flavor, so maybe blueberry is considered some sort of super soda or something, because that's what it tasted like.
Okay, like I'm still...
Would it really be that mind-blowing if they had cola-flavored ramen?
No. They probably do.
Yes, you're right. It's like no nothing flavored anything in Japan is surprising to me anymore.
Right. I mean, they had takoyaki flavored ramen and the spicy I think sriracha flavored ramen, which spicy. I forgot, it was some sort of hot pepper flavored ramen, which I tried, and for some reason I thought they were surprisingly good for what they were.
I haven't really gotten the whole ramen train. I think they look kind of cool, but
I've tried it once.
Yeah, I tried the normal kind
I
once.
tried it
that was enough for me.
It's just not my thing.
Yeah, but cola flavored ramen. Now that I'm excited for. I'm gonna try making that. It seems like it would be easy enough to improvise a recipe for that. Life, what'd you do this week? Anything good?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm absolutely boring. I barely caught up on anime.
Well, considering you're watching 20 shows, that's understandable. 20 shows is actually lowballing it, right? It's more like 25.
Yeah, it's closer to 25.
Oh God. Okay.
It might be over 25 actually.
Oof.
Okay, considering my brain is melting just watching the amount I'm watching, I'm going to try not to think about that too hard. And
You're pretty close.
I know, but I can't handle it. That's why you constantly have to remind me of everything that's going on and everything we're watching. So I'm like, what? That happened? I didn't notice. LB, what about you this week?
Well, we'll save our bitching session for a few seconds from now. The only other anime that I watched this week that wasn't a simulcast is I randomly asked for just some recommendations on what people thought were underrated titles on Funimation site because I just wanted something to watch. And someone mentioned Michiko and Hachin, and I was like, okay, that's a show that I've been meaning to watch. So I put it on, and yeah, I'm about 5 episodes in, and I'm really digging on it, like more so than anything else I've watched lately. So I'm hoping that I'd really like to find the time to just marathon it sometime in this week and try to get through it as quickly as possible. Because yeah, I'm really enjoying like the action and the character interaction.
I've only seen the first episode, but I can tell you that several of my friends count that as their favorite anime of all time.
Awesome.
I actually own it and
Nice.
have not seen it yet. It's the one title I own and have not seen.
I've never heard anyone tell me it's a bad anime.
Yeah, I've never heard anything bad about it either, so it's one of those shows that I've been wanting to watch. I just haven't for whatever reason, and but I'm really hoping that like maybe this upcoming weekend I'll be able to just sit down and just blow through it all.
How many episodes is it?
Like 22, 23, something like that.
Okay, that's manageable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't really have anything to say on that title because I haven't seen it yet either, but one of these days I might. Let's see. So I have a million things that I should have been watching, but instead I watched Encouragement of Climb. Because what I really needed was a random 3-minute anime short that's not on anyone's best of list or anything, but I don't know, sometimes you just feel like watching something random,
Oh, Karen, speaking of short animes, have you watched like this anime short series called Rainy Coco? It's apparently involves like a coffee shop and cafes.
Please tell me more.
I just know that it's streaming on Funimation and that each episode's like 2 minutes.
Okay, I will definitely check that out. and
But
get
yeah,
back to
like
it.
I forgot to say that Horikawa was also promoting the series' 3rd season, and that it apparently might be airing this fall, hopefully, and that
Okay,
it'll be
cool.
streaming on Funimation, and that I guess the show is, and at the same time, the show is apparently kind of popular, where the people behind it are shooting to open a Rainy Coco cafe in Hawaii, hopefully.
Okay, obviously this is something I'm going to have to look into, because this sounds like there's my name written all over it.
I have seen it, so I can vouch for it. I can tell you that despite each episode only being 2 episodes long, it's really cute and fun.
Ooh, cool to hear, LB.
Okay, so I will probably be watching that very soon, although Encouragement of Climb does have a 2nd season, and I don't know, maybe it's just because my dad and my brother always went camping and I never did. I watched the show thinking, so this is what it would be like to camp. Because even though it's ostensibly about mountain climbing, I think it's more about just kind of like hiking and camping than it is about climbing. Because I think mountain climbing, I think like really specialized equipment and like scaling Everest and stuff, but they're really just kind of walking. So I can relate to that. So so I'll catch up on the 2nd season of that one of these days probably. But the other thing I did this week was played this little mobile game called Sailor Moon Drops, and I want my life back.
It's a match 3, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and I like.
Those are some of the most dangerous games on the internet.
It's like you've been taken in by the mobile overlords.
I have. It's just. I almost wanted to say to myself, okay, I'm just going to say no. I'm going to have a moratorium on match 3 because this is taking over my life and it's not good. But the thing is, it's made it easier for me to eat healthier and exercise for the last week because it's like, well, I'm not going to eat this dessert. I'll just play 5 levels of Sailor Moon Drops. So it's like, I'm finally losing my pregnancy weight. Maybe it's worth it. So, I don't know. But yeah, LB told me about it.
Yeah, but I fully take the blame for this. I did tell you about it, so my apologies for, ruining your life, I guess.
Yeah, ruining my entire life. Okay, how about in the future, if there's something I'm going to get really addicted to, don't tell me about it unless it's like that one anime that's 2 minutes long. That's okay. That I can rub my head up. Okay, I was actually going to bitch longer about Sailor Moon Drops, but I think Wilson has finally stopped playing it. He's forsaken the mobile gods and gone back to Disgaea, so it's not taking up as big a part of my life as it was even just a couple of days ago. So.
As in he's playing Disgaea 5 or the Steam release of the first Disgaea?
No, he's playing Disgaea 5. He was actually playing it the night we went to the hospital because I was pregnant, and he hadn't touched it since then. Apparently afraid I'd give birth again, so he loaded the game for the first time a couple of days ago, and he was like, oh, look, I have a save on October 21st, 2015. I wonder what happened that evening. I have no idea. Interesting. Okay, I think after all that, we're finally ready to talk about our simulcast. So we're going to get started with the Senpai League. First episode on the list is Big Order Episode 7. Let's see. Well, Neon, you're our guest, so why don't you start? What did you think of Big Order Episode 7?
This show is really something else, I gotta say. Just in general. Like, I don't know. Like, it's funny because I don't know what your general line is on any of these shows, so this is all, like, fresh. We see if we can, it's like match game. See if we, have the same general opinion on these shows. And it's really, I can't... It's, what is it, Episode 7? I've spent 7 weeks trying to decide if I love or hate this show, I think. That's basically how I would describe it.
No, we're on the same boat with you.
Yeah, basically we think it's a train wreck, but it's an incredibly endearing train wreck, strangely.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting way to describe it. I still don't know what to make of this. I guess they're finally getting around to describing the main antagonist and the main dynamic, right? We had the reveal that this is all his father, who's the main villain, right, and was actually responsible for this, whatever they call it, the disaster, the grand disaster.
I'm not sure if that's the final twist, even. I won't say that it is yet.
But no, the thing that really confused me was the very end of that episode where it's kind of revealed that Senna is now this kind of mastermind. I spent the last I think 5 minutes of that episode just staring mouth agape and scratching my head what's going on?
Yeah.
Is recruiting this guy to be her knight? What?
That scene was bothering me though because I was I know I've seen exactly this dynamic where you think the little sister is a tool, but then it turns out that she's a player in her own right and maybe she's the most dangerous of all. Blah blah blah. But it's I know I've seen this. I can't remember what other anime this was in, so it's been bothering me since then.
Yeah,
Code Geass?
But Nunnally's not evil though. I mean, she's smart, but she's not an operator. I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. It's a similar idea, but you're right. I don't know if evil's the right term for Senna, but yeah, there is a difference.
Yeah, this is going to bother me now, so I figure out what other anime I've seen this relationship in. But
I actually kind of expected this, and I'll tell you why. In one of the early images with Senna, I think it's in episode 1 or 2. She's sitting there, and I'm gonna butcher his name. She's sitting there with a book with Friedrich Nietzsche with his name on it.
I think it's Nietzsche.
Yeah.
Nietzsche. Okay. And I saw that, I caught that, and I was like, okay, I've watched Future Diary. I know that a little detail like that's going to be important later.
See, this is what I mean when I say you have to remind me what happens on every show we're watching, because, yeah, I either did not catch that the first time or did not remember.
Yeah, I caught that, and I was just like, oh, when are they going to bring that back? They're going to do something with that, and I guess this is that something.
Okay, Life, what do you think of this episode? Ugh, I can't talk. What do you think about this episode in general?
I'm I'm glad that they're revealing what's going on. I kind of wish it was more of a like mind-blowing reveal. Instead, it's kind of like we're still just trying to piece it all together as we go, instead of anything really feeling like it makes sense. I feel like at this point going forward, they'll be able to do that. I just don't know what it has left. I mean, the show is only supposed to be 10 episodes long.
Yeah, which is... I mean, it has felt like they're rushing all along, and it even felt like we missed something between the end of the last episode and this one. So,
yeah, I feel like everything they're doing should be like dramatic and impressive, and it's not. It's interesting in a sense, but it's and I'm comparing it. I am largely comparing it to Future Diary and thinking, okay, I know that at this point in Future Diary, when they pulled this kind of stuff, I was impressed. I'm not actually impressed here. I'm enjoying this, but I'm not impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
it
enjoying
based
it
on
too,
anything?
but...
Big Order?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a manga. It's based off a manga the same as Future Diary, same original creator.
Yeah, that I know. I couldn't remember if it was like an original concept or if it was actually
no. There's a manga it's based off of. It's ongoing. But my understanding is that there's a pretty good ending point for the anime. I don't know what that is, but a friend of mine told me that.
Oh, okay.
I have read some of the manga just trying to kind of get a grasp of whether or not the storytelling is better in the manga, and my initial impression is yes, it's a lot better. It doesn't feel nearly as rushed and chaotic. It's still insane, but...
Yeah, and I like how in this show they always do something that undermines the seriousness with humor, and it's on such a level that it has to be intentional, but like I can't... It just gives the show such a weird...
Music.
I'm sorry?
They just start playing that music, and I just have this smile on my face, like, I can't hate this.
Well, in this episode in particular, there's we find out that what's her name, one of the women on the group of 10, she has that light beam power, and then the little demon imp like knocks her glasses off her face. She's like, "I've lost my vision," and she can't attack anymore.
And then they do the whole Roy Mustang, what is her name, Riza thing where he aims for her. I'm just like, no, you guys are not nearly cool enough for that.
Yeah, so there's just so many things on this show where it's like 1 minute it seems like they're taking it deadly seriously, and the other minute it's like, no, that had to have been intentional, and they knew that was going to look ridiculous. So it's like, it seems like from minute to minute they change their mind on what they're going for with this show.
You need to see Future Diary so you can understand that like the author is really good at diffusing his own super dark situations, because in this anime it's just diffused permanently. There's no real tension.
Yeah, you can't really take anything seriously at this point. So,
So I guess they did a better job at adapting Future Diary, right?
Yeah, it's twice the length too, and it was and it finished, right before the anime started or right during the anime airing. They had I guess they probably had a better roadmap, maybe more funding. I mean, I've heard a couple people say, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard a couple people say this is being made on a shoestring budget. I mean, Future Diary supposedly was too, so I really don't know.
But let me ask you something, though. At the time they made Future Diary, was the manga either finished or further along than Big Order is?
Yeah. Oh, well, it was... I want to say that it ended at the same time the anime ended. It was one of those.
I think it was already over before the anime started.
Yeah, that might have been the case. It might have ended right before the anime.
I remember finishing the manga before the anime, while the anime was still premiering.
You're probably right.
Yeah, this part.
And then they made that OVA like afterwards. Redial.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but they.
I did. I did, but it was so like I watched it so long after I watched the anime. I just spent the whole going, what?
My understanding is that they actually cut a little bit of that from the anime ending because they thought it was stupid, and a lot of my friends have told me that it was kind of dumb. So I haven't actually watched it yet. I don't know. Should I go and watch it?
I mean, like I said, it's hard to recommend unless the details of the anime are actually really fresh in your mind, I think.
Gotcha. So when I rewatch it sometime in the future, maybe I can...
Yeah, sure.
We should probably do a special Future Diary episode sometime so Lifesong can get all this Future Diary talk out of his system.
just so we can be... I feel like I need to defend it while I'm watching this. And I'm cringing a little bit on its behalf.
Yeah. Okay, so that's enough Big Order silliness for 1 week. Let's move on to Kiznaiver episode 8, which was a very different kettle of fish. I was really impressed by this episode, but I should probably preset that by saying I am a sucker for really dramatic scenes that involve, like, pouring rain and lightning. Like, a scene only has to be, like, minimally competent if it's doing that, and I will feel something. But I really like the way they did it, and I really like the animation when Agata runs out to find Sonozaki, and just everything that happened in that little sequence between them. And the thing is, I don't even like her at all, and I still really like that sequence. So, Kiznaiver has just kind of been on a tear lately. It's been really good the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 episodes. Neon?
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought the Honoka storyline with her deceased, I don't know, lesbian overtone relationship, I thought that was really, really good. And yeah, this episode too, like, slowly, I mean, in general, I'm really enjoying the show, and I do think that it's slowly things are kind of coming to a head. I did like the whole part in this episode where they were just talking about the weird, like, it's like a love hexagon or whatever. Like, you got, like, your, Nico, she likes, what's his name, Tenga, and Tenga likes, what's her name? Chidori, and Chidori likes Kachan, and Kachan likes,
Sonozaki.
Sonozaki. It's like, it's all like, it's this weird sort of dynamic, but they're slowly things are slowly coming to a head. Like, I feel like this won't just leave us on a tease, which is something, is like a big pet peeve of mine in anime, where, like, there's these feelings and they stretch and they stretch and they stretch, and then there's never any payoff. Like,
yeah, that's something that we don't have to worry about with this writer.
Yeah,
that's good, because, like, I'll be very forgiving of even really hokey and annoying storylines if they at least have some kind of, like, catharsis. Like, a good example of that is, I think, the second half of the first season of Sword Art Online, which has one of my personal, like, pet peeves of anime tropes, which is, like, the whole, oh, it's his cousin, it's his sister, they're not really whatever, some kind of, like, weird incesty kind of, she likes her cousin or whatever. But at least there they had this whole scene where, like, it comes to a head and she's like, oh, I'm this character from the game and I like you, but you didn't know it was me or whatever. And I was like, at least they had some kind of closure on that. Mm-hmm. And that to me makes everything that came before it, like, really forgivable. So yeah, like, I really like that people are slowly, like, inching towards, like, revealing their feelings to each other and having some kind of, like, confrontation and like a sort of emotional peak.
Yeah, I was realizing as you were explaining that I'm kind of the same way, because whenever it's an anime love story, I'm so used to them just ending with nothing happening that whenever it ends kind of definitively, I find I like it, even if it's a show that, like, no one else likes. Like, a good example of that is Astrolot's Toy. No one else in the universe likes that show besides me. But it ended definitively, so I had to give it brownie points.
Oh, wait. Is that the one with the little tiny succubus girl who is
little tiny succubus girl? Yes.
Yeah. It has to be exaggerated. Who is voiced by Kukumiya?
Oh, I didn't even know that she was, because I watched it. Well, I watched it when it came out, which was like 2010-ish. So it's a while ago. Okay, I'm sorry. I just tried to totally off topic by bringing up an anime from 6 years ago that no one watched. We were talking about Kiznaiver episode 8. Sal, your take on this episode? Wow.
Like, y'all basically said the majority of the stuff that I kind of felt about it, in terms of the relationships and how the scenarios are kind of interesting. Though I'm kind of happy that they're actually touching a little bit more on the original Kiznaiver project, which we know Agata was part of when he was a kid. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out when Sonozaki enters the picture during the current mission.
Yeah, and actually, go ahead, Leif.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, I wonder if he was involved or not. I really want them to explain his involvement. I think next week they will. But...
Well, I think originally he was a kid. I think because he saw in previous flashbacks that Agata's hair being white isn't his natural color, so that was obviously the result of whatever happened in that experiment, despite most of the people's quote-unquote surviving, since we don't really know if that's true or not.
Wasn't that the very first scene of the show, like in the first episode?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's... I know, and someone I know said, like, I wonder if that's Sonozaki originally, and I was like, I don't know, it's the different voice actress. Like, I recognize that voice actress. It's... I don't remember her name. She was in... never mind. But it's definitely like a different one that I know. So I was like, no, it can't be her, but I guess it is her. Like that was the reveal.
Child voice versus older voice, I guess.
Yeah, like it was. They definitively showed it was her with when her necklace came off and she had the little Kiznaiver scar like on the back of her neck.
The one question I'm wondering was, did she have that scar put back into her at the last minute, or was that necklace meant to suppress the Kiznaiver scar she currently has?
Good question.
I think the implication was that her and the two other teachers were actually all part of the original Kiznaiver project where they were experimenting on children.
Ah.
And I guess the other mystery I'm wondering was, like, did Sonozaki just become part of the company after the first experiment, or was she connected to some...
Yeah, well, I mean, if what I just said is true, then her parents were part of the project, and they gave up their own child to be an experiment.
Like, I'm curious to see how she rose up to the ranks of being in charge of the current project. So.
Do you think that when they did the original Kiznaiver project the first time, it failed, and that's why Agata and Sonozaki are both emotionally damaged? I mean, that's kind of the obvious conclusion, right?
Yeah. Maybe something like that. I mean, I can only imagine this going somewhere really meaningful if the project isn't going to work. I mean, there's still so many problems with the idea of making everyone feel each other's emotions and create world peace. I can't possibly see them bringing that together in the next couple of episodes and doing something meaningful with it. It has to fall apart.
Yeah, I want to get a flashback or something where we find out where they ever got the idea that this was a good idea in the first place, Where someone said, what I think would be a great way to achieve world peace? And someone else is like, I want to humor you. I want to hear this idea. And then they actually...
Yeah, we might get the next with the...
All we know is that they're like, hey, it worked with orangutans. It should work with humans. They're kind of similar.
That was an interesting implication, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And out there, people who hate evolution are just like, damn it. Can't even escape the revolution when I watch my animes.
I come here for my creationist needs.
Exactly.
I don't need none of your newfangled ape theories. I just got to say, a general note is I'm so happy that Trigger's actually doing something that's sort of serious and good and has lots of like creative effort put into it. I felt like their last few outings after, like, I thought Kill la Kill was super, super strong, and then their next like 2 or 3 projects were just like weird, like head scratchers.
They're money payers,
and perhaps the most impressive part is that the majority of the staff is Trigger's newcomers. So props to them.
Oh wow!
I mean, Trigger has even said before that they don't make money on anime original projects; they lose money on them. So that kind of makes me stop and wonder: wait, how do these even happen?
Please excuse my ignorance, but what did Trigger do in between Kill la Kill and Kiznaiver?
They did Inobattle.
Oh, okay, I know what you mean.
Right, which has that one really great scene that everyone should watch, and then skip the anime.
Episode 7, the amazing monologue by Saori Hayami.
Yeah, that was great. That's all I've seen, but that was great.
Oh, I mean, look, the show, it's weird. It's one of those shows that like keeps like swinging at goodness and missing. There was like 5 or 6 times during that show, like, oh, it's gonna get good. No. But that one monologue was just sort of epic, I thought. And then after that, they did Ninja Slayer.
Oh yeah.
They kind of just do whatever they want to do.
Oh, yeah. What about? They also did a couple short. They also did Little Witch Academia episode 2, and they did a couple shorts for the Japan Animator Expo project as well.
Right, and we're going to come back to that.
Sex and violence, mock. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
I'm not watching Space Patrol Luluco. I'm actually planning on just sort of shotgunning the whole thing when it's over because it's a short, and I'm seeing lots of good comments about it. Looks like it's really fun. And sort of has that sort of triggery, kill-a-killy joie de vivre or whatever.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is I think you've got kind of like Trigger getting all its triggerisms out in Space Patrol Luluco and kind of like this one 7-minute orgy of Trigger. And then in Kiznaiver, they're actually able to hold it back and show some restraint. So it's almost like they planned it this way.
The interesting thing to me about Kiznaiver is like, I don't see Trigger in this. It's really good. But it's like I kind of expected Trigger would just be kind of like Imaishi's pet project, and that's all it would ever be. And then anything else they would make would just be like a light novel, advertisement, anime. So I'm really, really happy to see that Kiznaiver is doing more than that.
Considering that it is an original series, so like they have 2 original shows this season.
Yeah, and it's Marie Okada doing some good stuff. Like she has this. It's weird because she has like an image of being almost like a one-note, like a one-trick pony, which I think is kind of unfair because she has done a bunch of pretty diverse things.
Yeah, it's not fair.
She's actually just written too much to be a one-trick pony.
Yeah, but I mean, like she has this. People go like, "Oh, Okada, it's going to be dark, it's going to be whatever," but that's not true at all. I mean, even if you watch, I mean, we're going to talk about Lost Village, I guess, at some point, or next, actually, which is also her, and also even internally isn't really one trick. It's sort of all over the place.
Yeah, you can even sometimes see like what projects I know she's more involved with tend to have like a slightly different personality than the one she's less involved with. And a lot of people see her name, they're like, "Oh, she did everything that's involved in the writing of this. That's hers." It's not always true. Sometimes it might be, but
I mean, to me, a lot of the process of making anime in general is kind of opaque to me. It's a little bit unclear the way, like the production committees, and then you got your series composition, and you got your you have like a written by credit, but then you have like episode directors, and you have people who do guest scripts, and so it's sometimes it's really hard to tell even by looking at like the cast list.
Yeah, it is hard.
The crew list, like how hands-on person X was at this production.
Because even if you have the same writer or director working on different shows, like the main factor is going to be their relationship with the rest of the crew, because that's a big factor.
Yeah, and also one cool thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, one cool thing about Marie Okada is she's high profile enough that there are a couple of interviews with her where she kind of talks about her involvement with certain projects.
Yeah, I'd want to read those one of these days.
Yeah. Same here.
I guess we should probably move on to Lost Village, but as long as we're on the Marie Okada topic, like, just what I find really interesting about her is just how volatile she seems to be. We've got something with Kiznaiver where she seems to be really well matched to the project, and it's really paying dividends. And then you've got something like she wrote the new Kenshin Kyoto arc a couple of years ago. They just redid the Kyoto arc in OVA format, and it was horrible. It was one of the worst anime I've ever seen. And and
went
I was
against
like, how
the
can
original
this be...
manga, the original anime.
Well, I'm not such a manga purist that in itself bothered me. Like, she could have done something completely different with the Kyoto arc, and I wouldn't have minded as long as it was, good. But it's almost like there's like a good Mario Okada and a bad Mario Okada, and it's like that Star Trek episode where there's like a dimension where they're constantly fighting each other. And
she has a little evil goatee.
Yeah.
the alternate dimension Mario Okada.
Oh, actually, I was thinking of a different Star Trek episode, but that one works.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm talking about the one with the evil Spock.
Yeah. I actually only recently went back and watched the original Star Trek, but okay, we should probably get back to anime. The Lost Village, episode 9, and oh gosh, I don't even know what to say about the Lost Village anymore. Okay, Mitsumune appears to have woken up in a hospital at the end, so maybe the theory that this is all some kind of, they're all in like purgatory, or this is all some kind of weird dream state or something is coming true. Beyond that, I do not know what to make of this episode. Life?
I've been saying for a while now, I think the key to enjoying this show is trying to, invest in the characters and the sort of the character dynamics. But this episode, I just couldn't do it. I just want, maybe it's just Speedstar or Hayato or whatever his name is. His character just annoys the hell out of me. I don't know. Am I alone in that?
His character doesn't annoy me, but I think with his story, it was almost too much. He was like, "Oh, my parents made me do this, this, and this. Oh, and by the way, they also beat me and locked me in the attic." I felt like it was too much. I felt like his story would have been more compelling if he was just like, "Yeah, I always had to be the perfect kid, and I was under all this pressure." Like having to make his parents over the top abusive, it just kind of seemed like, here's the 47th, traumatic story someone has.
They had to throw that in there so he had something to be afraid of and something to get hung up on. Which seems to be, this whole thing seems to be about getting over the things you're hung up on.
Yeah, I would think if he was just like, always forced to be this perfect child, having to get over that constant fear of failure would be enough, but then we wouldn't have the creepy image of like his grandma ghost trying to break his
Yeah,
house
I
or
don't know.
whatever.
they are trying to do too much.
Maybe they could have had like some sort of creepy stick or shoe because of what his parents used to beat him for not being perfect.
I don't
You
know
know
if
what?
that would have
If
been
he's been
improvement.
afraid of a stick, a magic stick, that would have fit better.
I mean, it's not as though some of the other fears in this show are like over the top ridiculous things, you know, like
No, they are. They are.
a
Like
mutated
Mitsumune
Thomas
with the
the Tank
penguin that's
Engine.
news of his brother.
In fact, his is the most classic horror of all of them.
Yeah.
Neon, what did you think this episode?
I mean, like Life said, I've seen the stuff that he's written about the show since the beginning. Like I think that he has some interesting sort of insights about it and about how, like, my view about what's going on has sort of shifted throughout the show. And like I said, at the end of it, when Mitsumune wakes up at like some kind of facility, I almost had this weird flashback from that movie Cabin in the Woods. I don't want to spoil too much, but suffice it to say, it starts off as like a very sort of formulaic, sort of classic, trope-filled sort of horror story, but then is revealed to have this whole other layer that's very surprising and very unexpected. And I feel like maybe there's some key to this that I feel like once we'll figure out, things will kind of click. But I gotta say, I do appreciate the fact that it's really spastic, but in an interesting way. Like it started off being this really silly, all over the place thing, but then the silliness was kind of revealed to have these way more serious undertones to them. Like everybody's odd behaviors are rooted in these like past traumas and stuff of that nature. And I don't know, I feel it's really interesting, but it's still one of those shows that can just fall completely apart by the end if it doesn't have like an interesting payoff.
Yeah, like I kind of see where you're going with that, and I agree. I really like what the themes are doing in the show, and I'm more and more as the episodes go on, and it's not clicking yet. I'm more and more skeptical that it's going to. I hope that skepticism is wrong and that it will. And I think that we might see something interesting next week. I mean, that was probably Renji that showed up at the end of this episode. Is that what everyone thought?
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, same.
Who else could it be?
They can't really put off giving us that final piece. It's too late in the
game to introduce new people.
Yeah, they can't really put that final piece off for too much longer here. It's got to come out soon.
Yeah. Sal, and I'm sorry I got to you last again.
That's okay.
Anything further on this episode?
Something else occurred to me. Okay, if Mitsumune ended up in a situation where he woke up in a hospital, didn't that kind of happen to Masaki when she kind of escaped from the village? Or one moment she kind of just fell off a cliff, and then she just ended up out of the village. So maybe that could be a foreshadowing link to the truth.
That's also if her story was actually true.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Who knows what's going on with her?
Yeah, I will say the one thing that's interesting is that we had a flash to him in the hospital in the first or second episode.
Oh, we did?
Yes, we did.
God damn it, Lifesong.
What scene was that?
Where he's like, they're on the bus or something, and he's something about another world, which is why last week I brought up, I hope they don't do a dumb generic quantum physics thing with this show, because they could do that.
Yes, because not enough anime reference Schrodinger's cat. I think that's
please. It could be Schrodinger's cat. It could be quantum physics. It could be both. Please don't do that.
All right, so Lost Village, we are waiting, perhaps in vain, for the big payoff that will make this all, if not make sense, then at least feel worth it on some level. But so,
yes, so.
Alrighty, so we're going to move on to ReZero Episode 9, and I'm still enjoying ReZero, but I don't think I'm making any attempt to try to figure out what's going on with the Jealous Witch anymore. I think I probably said that last week, too, so my apologies if I'm repeating myself, but I enjoyed seeing Subaru be so heroic in this episode, especially because he's been so, especially considering the way he started out. But beyond that, I don't really have that much to say, because I'm just waiting for them to feed me more information, basically. Sal, what'd you think of this one?
Oh, I didn't watch ReZero.
Oh, why did I'm sorry.
you finally were like, aha, I'm going to go to him first. He's like, oh, I didn't watch that one.
In my zeal to make up for past wrongs, yeah. Life, what'd you think?
The big thing for me, and I think I spent an hour debating with someone on whether or not there's kind of these two theories that I've had going back and forth, whether or not it's Subaru that this witch or shaman or whatever is trying to target, or whether it's Emilia. And I'm personally convinced that it's Subaru. What do you think?
I feel like Emilia, other than being a lap for Subaru to cry on, I don't think Emilia's had much to do with anything for about 5 or 6 episodes now. So
yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with her, and because of that, I think it's got to be targeted at him.
Yeah, it's just that I feel like I can't even... I don't even have a place to come from to say, well, here's why the jealous witch might want to kill Subaru or bring him back. Or I need more information.
I think I know what it is, but I could be completely wrong. I think that whatever it is, that's that smell following him around. They told us that the other witches are dead. So I'm assuming it's one of the other witches. They're a ghost. They're possessing the stupid little dog, and they're messing with him.
I don't know.
And they know that he's going to come back to life.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I don't get the feeling that there's going to be another witch, or at least not in this arc. I feel like that would kind of be like pulling something out of complete left field to be like, oh, well, that jealous witch we've been talking about. Well, it's not her. It's this total other witch that
I don't think it can be. I don't know. I still kind of think that Emilia is probably the jealous witch.
Yeah, I do too.
And if she's not important, it can't be the jealous witch. And we've kind of been told that Roswaal is like the big wizard mage guy of this magical universe. So if it were something that were, you think he'd know if it were something less powerful than one of the witches or the dragon or one of the high-powered things we've been told about in this arc. I can't imagine it being something other than them.
I'm so
confused. I just see that it's got to be them.
I don't know, Neon. Help. Help me make sense
well,
of this.
I mean, before I get to that, I just want to say that, about the show in general. First of all, I'm a big fan of Studio White Fox, which is the studio behind this show, and they really have this sort of knack of they put together really quality products, even if it's a show that I'm not super interested in, like bunnies and coffee or whatever.
What show is that?
Oh, Gochumon wa Usagi desu ka? Like it's Order a Rabbit.
Is the Order a Rabbit, which I still say has been misnamed and should be called Did Someone Order a Rabbit or something like that.
Oh, did someone? Oh, yeah, I guess so. You're actually right. I think that's probably a more accurate translation. But yeah, like that's a show that I would totally never watch. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but even so, I recognize that it's sort of really well put together. But and I really like the thing I really like about ReZero is that it doesn't just solely focus on Subaru's relationship with Emilia. It also gives plenty of time for him to sort of vibe with the other characters. Even felt in the previous sort of cycle, whatever time loop, but now more so with the sisters and also with Beatrice. Little sort of fun moments because this episode, Emilia was barely in it. It was most just him with Ram and also with Beatrice. But as for the witch and whatnot, I mean, there's this whole storyline about Emilia's claim to the crown, right? Mm-hmm. Because Roswaal is sponsoring her. It kind of reminds me of in the Middle Ages where there were these battles for the crown where you'd have this cousin and this son, and they would have to have some powerful sponsor behind them to maybe gather an army and go fight for the crownship of England or whatever. Yeah, it might be a weird way to try to get to Emilia through Subaru, but I'm not entirely sure. This episode was barely basically a setup for next episode, which is probably going to be the culmination of this cycle because it's built on these loops, right?
Yeah, I got something to say to that.
Go.
And that is specifically that Roswaal seems to know what's going on, and he didn't leave the mansion before, and now he is leaving the mansion.
So what are you saying?
I'm not sure, but he seems to know something about what's going on, which tells me that he's got to be seeing that previously. My only theory for him leaving is that previously he was distracted by thinking Subaru was a threat, and he decided Subaru wasn't a threat. So him leaving implies that he has an idea of what's going on, and he went out to meet it head on. or went out to deal with it.
I was wondering, I mean, are you saying that maybe he's the shaman? Like, you know, it's him. He did it in the parlor with the poker stick and that sort of thing?
I went through that for a while, and I don't want to go through all the theory crafting. I don't think it's him, but I think he knows what's up.
Okay. I just feel like for about maybe 3 or 4 episodes now, every episode I'm like, okay, next episode they'll probably give me enough information that I'll feel like I'm in a good place to talk about the show. And I just keep sitting here like, I'm still confused. But...
yeah, I'm just kind of going through process of elimination, and I don't really know exactly what's going on. But I feel like I feel like they've probably given us enough pieces that I could guess close.
Mm. Okay, well, I hope Neon is right, and the next episode is the end of this kind of cycle, because, you know, I'm not tired of it, but I think if they just keep doing this arc with him,
I don't want to see him die again. It does need to progress. And I think that they are going to get to, like, a sort of Throne Wars sponsor thing, but I have a feeling that's going to be a future event, and my reason for saying that is that when Rem... the last time Rem killed Subaru, she went through a couple of different options for what could be going on. One of them was the whole throne thing with the tractors. The other one, the other one I remember was the witches. And I'm fairly certain that this current story arc is focused on the witches, just because I can piece things together if it is, and I can't piece anything together if it's not.
Basically,
and
you want everything.
Will it be related to the first cycle? Will it be related to what's her name on
I don't think
Nobuna's character that's Psycho?
Elsa?
No, I think she'll come back later, but I don't think this is related to her at all. Because this doesn't, like, it's totally different from her style. I mean, like, she would just go in and cut him open and get it over with. And that's what she would do.
I guess so.
Okay, so...
I am happy that it's 25 episodes, though.
Yeah, they've obviously got a lot of room to go somewhere with this.
So I think we're done with ReZero for this week, so we move on to Flying Witch Episode 8, and continuing to be whimsical fun for all ages. Not really all ages, but close. Just want to say, as whimsical as this show is, like, I find myself often asking practical questions, and then almost as soon as I think of the question, the show answers it. Like, when the ladybugs go and eat at the cafe, and then they leave, I'm like, how do the ladybugs pay? They don't have ladybug money. Then Kay immediately asks the proprietor's daughter, like, do the ladybugs pay you guys? So I think what's amazing about the show is how well they do all these very whimsical things and yet keep them so grounded. Because they have characters asking, you know, very obvious questions that the viewer would ask and stuff. So it just continues to be an utter delight. Life, do you feel differently? Do you feel this episode of Flying Witch was terrible or something?
No, I loved it. Actually, this is kind of the thing I wish Flying Witch would do more of. Focus on sort of like the weird supernatural stuff where they go to a cafe for ghosts and spirits, and it's normal. That's just kind of really fun. I don't know.
Yeah, this episode was really fun because it was all about that stuff. Although I thought Makoto and what's her name, Shinatsu? I thought they were kind of annoying to the other customers, but it was funny. So I was
actually going to say Makoto. I don't blame Shinatsu too much. She's a little whatever. But Makoto and her older sister, I'm forgetting her name now.
Akane.
They're both kind of like. They're insensitive assholes. Yeah, I don't know another word to put it. I don't know another word for it.
Well, you know how I said that Chinatsu is... Now we know Chinatsu is, like, training to become a witch, but I feel like she's not going to become one. Maybe it's because she's like, I want to be a witch, but you guys are such assholes. I don't think I can do that.
I don't think she cares. But maybe. She seems completely enamored right now.
Okay, so...
I loved how the episode ended with the little dream sequence. I think it might have even been after the credits with the older sister in, I guess it was Vietnam.
Yeah.
She just accidentally turns the color of the entire scenery of like the countryside like into a black and white painting.
I was thinking that the relationship that Akane and Makoto have, it's probably a kind of abusive relationship, except we don't have the language to describe it. Like, what does it mean when you're constantly being bothered by your sister's over-ambitious and reckless magic? It's gotta be...
Yeah.
So...
That was... I don't know. That was great. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, so Flying Witch, I mean, it's not the kind of show you're going to analyze, you know? It's just so much fun.
There's nothing to analyze.
It's what?
There's nothing to analyze.
Yeah, there really isn't. So, that brings us to Joker Game, Episode 9, and, I guess this episode kind of took the most obvious track, which is, okay, this other spy agency thinks they know what they're doing. Yuki is going to school these assholes, and that's exactly what happened. But at the same time, I still found it pretty satisfying, even though it didn't really go anywhere unpredictable. But, I thought it was funny how the other spy agency, the Wind Agency, they kind of acted like they had watched too many James Bond movies, even though James Bond movies don't exist in this time period. Whereas and I like the contrast between like the kind of cinematic, oh, I'm such a badass spying, and like actual spying that works and produces results. So I still, even though it was kind of predictable, I still thought it was a really fun episode. What do you think of this one, Life?
Yeah, I went through thinking, oh no, I know exactly. Like I don't know, maybe 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh no, I know exactly how this is going to play. I don't even want to watch this. It's so disappointing to me that this is going to be this predictable. But then we got to the actual scene where Yuki is sitting in the room and he just talks down to that other spy. That was gold. That was perfect.
Also, did you recognize Yuki in the opening scene when he was like in disguise?
I didn't know for sure that it was Yuki. I assumed it was one of the spies. I didn't realize it was him. I did recognize the kid immediately. I've been wondering when he was going to show up.
Yeah, and there's that whole scene where Yuki is basically telling the guy, here's all the reasons why you're terrible as a spy, and, you should not be in this business. But one of the things he doesn't say is that if you look at all the people who are seated when they're having that dinner in Wind Agency, they all look like badasses. They don't have anyone who looks like unobtrusive. Whereas there's several of the guys in Joker Game you wouldn't think are trained killers, but that's what makes them so dangerous. Ha ha ha. So it was almost like, even though Yuki goes through 15 ways that everything the Wind Agency does is wrong and stupid, it's like the stuff he didn't say was actually more interesting. Because you see with what Yuki does, that it seems like the most effective form of spying is really just social engineering, like getting normal people to do the stuff you want them to do so you don't have to expend any effort. So
yep.
It's just,
that is how it works.
Yeah. So this is just really fun for me. Sometimes even when something is going where you expect it to go, if they do it well, it doesn't matter that you expected it.
Yeah, I was very impressed with that whole sequence where he's talking to the guy and the whole gotcha. That was great.
Yeah, although at this point in the season, I think it's time to accept that Joker Game isn't going to be what I wanted it to be at the beginning of the season. I kind of wanted
what would that be exactly?
I wanted it to deal with World War II in a more substantial way. It's been really keeping it at arm's length, and I guess it kind of has to, really, or else it would be a very different show, but it's not what I thought maybe we were getting based on the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, they keep touching on it, and every time they get close to it, they back away rapidly in the next episode, so...
Yeah, and you can't really argue with it too much, because you understand exactly why, because if they really went there, that would be a show no one wants to watch. So.
Well, I mean, they actually, it's interesting to me. I think they actually have a moral ground in the show at this point where they could do something interesting, because the spy agency, they don't really like the Japanese military.
Yeah.
They don't really follow the ethics of the Imperial Japan. So they have room to do something interesting if they are careful with it.
Oh, the whole bit about the grand strategy, and Yuki's all those strategies were actually pretty obvious military strategy, so why would you call that the grand strategy? And then pretty...
Yeah, I thought that was pretty telling, actually. That was meaningful to World War II in a sense. I mean, he did basically just say, this is all a bad joke.
Yeah. Neon, did you try Joker Game at all?
Yeah, I watched the first couple episodes. I mostly dropped just on sort of time constraints. I mean, it seemed like it could be interesting. I wasn't sure what to make of it with just the first couple of episodes. It seemed to be all about little mind games and things of that nature. But I wasn't sure. I don't know. I mean, I'm not ruling out that I'll give it another try.
It's a little bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say at this point. Okay, let's move on to Twin Star Exorcist Episode 8. This is the one episode I missed this week, and I heard a rumor that something actually frickin' happened this week, so...
Oh boy, did it.
Oh, what did I miss? Spoil me badly.
Okay, well, there was the shocking reveal of this episode is that Benio, her brother, actually died in the disaster where his family all died as well, and it was his fault. He actually killed her brother.
Wait, did he use like his fire fists and kill her?
He kind of went berserk, I guess. He has some kind of weird, kind of like in what's the other show's name? God damn it, I'm having a
There's a dozen shows where they do this. So.
Yes, I know, right? Where
it doesn't need to be a specific one.
His overpowered nature leads to like some kind of like going berserk or whatever. And that was the thing that, and then so there's like at the very end of the episode, there's the reveal that he's responsible for her brother's death, and it's this like huge shocking sort of moment. And yeah, I mean, I really dig the show. There was a rumor going around that it's like 50 episodes long.
Yeah.
And I really hope that's true.
I do too, because it needs it. They're moving so slowly. It's like well, they have been anyway. I hope they continue to move quicker now.
Yeah, because Neon, what we've been talking about with the show for the last few episodes is that like we want to like it, but it's just like hasn't been doing enough the last couple episodes. It's felt very fillerish. Have you had that feeling at all, or you just like where
yeah, I definitely agree. Like, there's another show that I guess you don't talk about, My Hero Academia, which I also feel like suffers from this, from the fact that it's kind of glacial. I mean, they're both shows that I enjoy, especially My Hero Academia, which is just fantastic. But it really is like, it's weird, especially when it's like a show that ostensibly has like 12 or 13 episodes, and you're like, we're on episode 8 or 9, and like nothing, it hasn't moved at all. Like some interesting stuff has happened. It's entertaining, whatever. But it's a lot of it is just slow, like a slow burn. Like try to build characters very slowly, trying to kind of introduce you to the world. But it doesn't. There's no sense of urgency to it, which is why I kind of hope that it's long, because it makes more sense for it to kind of just take its time a little bit establishing things. Like I keep going back to what I consider possibly like the perfect show for that kind of length, like 50 episodes, Eureka 7, which you would watch it while it was airing. There would be times during it where you would go like, nothing's happening, god damn it. But like by the end, you're like, this is so perfect, because it all kind of falls into place at the right times. It has this really good sort of emotional arc if you look at it in retrospect. But which is why it's sometimes hard for me to. That's why I resist episodic vlogging about anime, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know if any of this is going to work. I'll come back to this in like 8 weeks, and I'll tell you if this thing that happened this episode worked in the greater context of the show. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that might or might not like have huge payoff. Well, but I was happy that they finally things came to a head, and now there's going to be this conflict, because it was slowly building this relationship between Rokuro and Benyo. Like, they started off as like this sort of tsundere relationship where they kind of snipe at each other, blah, blah, blah. And then they had a couple of challenges. They kind of learned to appreciate each other's skills. They're starting to like each other. Now here comes this bang, this like wedge in the middle. So yeah, like I'm interested to see like how this new like wedge of drama that's like dropped in between them now is gonna influence things going forward.
See, now I don't mind going back to it, because I put off... This was like the episode I was least interested in, so it was the one I saved for last, and then I didn't get to it, because I was like, I don't want to see another episode where they just, like, run around and kill some more, exercise some more kegare, whatever the hell they are. But if they're actually getting to the plot, then I'm up for that.
Well, I mean, that sort of is what happens this episode, but then at the end it's like, so I mean, it's actually the next episode you're really interested in.
Yeah, I was really, really annoyed at where it ended. I'm like, no, don't drop it right there. Don't, please.
Was it as annoying as the ending of Lost Village, where Misaki takes a breath and the episode cuts out?
Oh god.
It was on about the same level. I don't know. That show, it's different. It's just a whole different feel to it. Yeah. But it was about the same level, I think.
Okay, we should probably move on to our next anime, Macross Delta, which I don't watch, so I'm tempted to go downstairs and get a dolly to play with after we're talking about figures, but I will strain myself. I'm a grown adult person. Lifesong and Sal, what did you think of Macross Delta this week?
Yeah, so you go first, Life?
Yeah, I finally caught up. I caught the last 2 episodes. I'm glad to see that they're, actually doing things with Freyja, and that it's not just... She's not just the singing bot anymore. I mean, I really don't have that much to say. Yay, the fighting scenes were cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was kind of funny how their attempt to use a flash bomb to get away actually backfired.
That was pathetic. Yeah, I feel like the show's actually doing some really good things. It's just, it fades from my memory so quickly. I don't know.
Kind of curious what they're going to do with Mester, what happened with episode 8 and 9, with the whole situation with him and the VAR syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty sure that he was going to be the sacrifice and that they were going to do the whole dramatic payout and he's going to die. And then he didn't die. And now I just kind of like, oh, what was the point of all that?
Yeah. No, I still think they still might be doing something with him because he still has the syndrome. It hasn't been purged from his body like how the other Valkyrie songs have cured everyone else.
Yeah, does it actually cure them or does it just turn them back to normal temporarily? I mean, like, I wasn't real clear on that. I was like, because if it actually cures them, why isn't he better?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it depends on how bad the syndrome is.
Yeah, I just kind of hate
like in some cases. I guess in some cases it changes them back to normal. Like the one dad of that ace pilot that was the dad of those two kids in that cat planet. Like he seems to have gotten back to normal, and he'll get to spend time with his kids. So maybe it depends on how severe the syndrome is.
So he'll get to spend time with his kids, and then he'll get bad again, and he'll be mind controlled and go fight people.
Oh, saying in his case he might feel better.
Yeah, I know. I just wish that they went through all the work in detail.
Yeah.
This detailed explanation that was consistent, and then they're like, oh yeah, well now it may or may not be consistent. Who knows?
I have to say it's interesting trying to.
Or maybe the case was that maybe because he had it in the past and it wasn't fully purged. Because maybe that's a factor with Mester.
What were you saying, Karen?
I was just going to say it's interesting. It's interesting only getting this show through the prism of you two trying to figure out what's going on. Just it sounds pretty surreal.
It's actually like there's two different sides to the show. There's the idol side to the show, and there's the sort of war mech side to it. The war mech side, there's not that much to say because it's just solid. It's really good. It's predictable, but it's like really well animated. I hate comparing it to Hero Academia or other things. There's just not that much to say, but it's really well done. Then there's the idol side of it, and it's just kind of all over the place. You have them singing to do magical hacking, and my mind hasn't decided whether or not those two things mix at all.
Well, I'll ask you at the end of the season whether or not they mix. You're going to have to come to a yes or no answer.
Yeah, maybe I'll have it figured out by then. I think it's going through next season, too, so...
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't mind it given how I heard how ridiculous Macross 7 was with the music aspect, so... Yeah,
see, that's the problem I'm having, though. It's like, there's the super serious war side, and then there's the...
Because again, your experience with Macross... your experience with Macross so far was just Frontier, right? Like, have you gone to watch Do You Remember Love yet?
No, I haven't, but they're obviously very different things.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've Macrossed for this week. Gonna move on to Kuma Miko episode 9, and this episode was pretty much entirely predictable, but still fun in the way that Kuma Miko is usually fun. I think there was a missed opportunity with Natsu as the cameraman, though. I was like, oh, Natsu's using the camera, that's going to be hilarious, and then they never really went anywhere with that, so I was kind of disappointed in that. But I enjoyed it otherwise. LB, you've been waiting very patiently while we go through a bunch of shows you don't watch, so what'd you think of this one?
Honestly, I'm going to be waiting a little bit longer because I don't have much to add about this episode. I watched it, and, my main thought was, in the beginning when they said, oh, we're going to film a commercial, and their light went off in my head of, oh, gee, what could possibly go wrong with this? And, yeah, the episode just kind of went the way I thought it was going to. Nothing amazing really happened, so, I don't have a whole lot to add, sadly.
Yeah, but you agree with me that always Natsu should have done more, right?
Yeah, personally, I was thinking that they should have had Natsu on TV, because, Japan probably would have just chalked it up to, oh, wow, this village has amazing CGI technology. We should go...
Actually, Wilson hasn't been watching Kuma Miko, but I finally realized how to watch Funimation on the PlayStation 4, because I've been watching all the Funimation shows on my MacBook like an idiot, not realizing I could watch it on the big screen. So anyway, I'm watching Kuma Miko, and he's watching this episode, watching Kuma Miko for the first time, and he's like, they're not going to have the talking bear do the advertisement for the village? And I was like, no, dear, it's a closely guarded secret. And he just kind of looked at me and walked out of the room. So you are not the only one who feels that way. Okay, so we're going to move on to Bakuon episode 9. They introduced a new character with an impressive resting bitch face. I always like Bakuon. It's one of the highlights of my week, honestly, and that probably sounds kind of sad, but it's true. It is. I'm always happy when it goes up on Monday morning. But what I did not like is that how they edited the new character into the opening, because I kind of felt like those opening scenes, some of them were taking place like during the whole Kaido trip, and when they put her in those scenes, like, no, she wasn't on that trip. Stop retconning my memories. So I was kind of, I had a little bit of really impotent nerd rage going on there. But other than that, I continue to pretty much love this show every week, and Principal remains best girl. Neon, you're watching Bakuon, right?
Yes, but I haven't seen this episode yet. But since it's not exactly a show where this matters, I can say generally that I am enjoying it. It is very entertaining, and I don't know. I just find it amusing that it's full of like sniping about motorcycles. Like, it actually weirdly takes its subject matter kind of seriously in like a sort of a funny way, like where they're actually like for real like motorcycle snobs and really sort of passionate about the topic, but it's still sort of absurd.
Yeah, well, I bet somewhere there are some guys who are really into motorcycles for whom this is going to be their gateway anime, because someone's going to say, oh, do you know there's an anime where they just talk about motorcycles all the time and argue about which one is better, and they'll be like, we must see this.
I have a friend like that, my friend on Facebook who actually builds motorcycles and stuff, and I was like, you got to watch this show. This is perfect for you.
Nice. Has your friend watched it yet?
Well, I've got him to watch, an anime here and there. Like, he saw Fate Zero on my recommendation. I was like, oh, this is cool and stuff. And I was like, this is the one. Forget everything else. It's an anime about motorcycles. This is your thing, dude. So he hasn't watched it yet, but I'm sure once he does, I'll hear about it.
Okay. Let's see. LB, what'd you think of this week's Bakuon?
I thought it was just as good as they usually are. I thought it was funny that they killed Raimu again.
She's like the Kenny of the show.
Yeah, basically. I mean, she got into the big crash again and flew head over heels, and I thought that was hilarious. And I thought it was funny that they found a way for her to stay in the school. Just like, oh, I'm repeating here. Sorry. I thought that was kind of cool. My big thing is that this is episode 9, right?
Checking, yes.
Yeah, and the series is only 12 episodes long. Doesn't it seem a little late to be introducing like a new character? I don't know. Am I the only one who feels that way?
No, there's enough time for one more arc, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if anybody else felt that way. I just thought it felt a little late to be introducing a new character, but I guess, that's just me, which is totally fine.
Yeah, I also feel pretty confident this is going to get a second season, so these characters are going to get more time in the sun.
I'm not as confident about it getting a second season. It might, but I don't feel like for sure about that yet.
I don't know the details of the broadcast all that well, so I can't feel like I can make an accurate prediction. But going off of how popular it is, I suspect it will.
Just on
the real question is
just on reactions here, or also the Japanese ratings as well.
I mean, all of my impressions are from what I've read on Twitter, playing games, other things. I see it showing up everywhere. I see people talking about things. It's all really like a game of telephone. I don't have any direct information, but it seems popular. That's all I've got.
I think the most important question to ask about it is, if this does get a second season, are they just going to add another exclamation mark?
Oh yeah, they totally will.
Is it just going to be Bakuon?
they are totally, with the characters in the title, they are totally parodying K-On!
So
yes, they will absolutely do. They even, when they get on stage to do their, a little spoiler from this last episode, when they get on stage, right before they get on stage actually to go to do their presentation for their club, they follow the Light Music Club. The Light Music Club is the club that was on stage before them.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's a real obvious reference, I think.
I thought that was a cute little nod. Okay, so we're going to move on to And You Thought There Was Never a Girl Online, episode 8. And what is it with me in this show that, like, I always think the worst of it? Because
I have that feeling too, and that I'm always wrong, and I just have to tell myself I'm wrong. It's going to be this, not that.
Yeah, because like it's almost like there's so many shows where I want it to be good, and every week I'm kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt, and it sort of disappoints me, and I'm like, oh, okay, but maybe they'll turn this around, and then they don't. And it's like, with this show, that this is like the first time it's happening in reverse, and I can't deal with it. I keep saying, oh, they're going to do this stupid thing. Nope, they don't go there. They just deal with it in a completely different way. Oh, they're going to do this stupid thing. Nope, that's too stupid for us. We're going to do this smart thing. So, I actually ended up having I really enjoyed this episode. I like the fact that Akko was clued into the fact that the guy online was not her husbando in like 2 minutes. I like the fact that by the time he realized what was going on and ran to her hotel room, she had already logged off because she figured it out that fast. And then the way he ended up getting back at the scammer was fun. So
I had a little bit of pride there when I watched the gamers all come together and help him out. It was like, you know what? I could totally see that happening. I could see them pulling together for this guy. I did think it was interesting. It's like it's kind of shady, this game they're playing. If the GMs don't even have good enough logs to, figure out what happened.
Oh, see, I don't play MMOs enough to think about it on that level. I was like, oh, I guess that's just how these games work.
I could see that for a cheaper run game or a game that doesn't have enough administrators to actually check through all the logs or something like that. It's not completely unrealistic, but like if you were to throw something like that at World of Warcraft, there's no way that would happen.
Okay, so that's interesting. LB?
I really enjoyed the episode. My one complaint about this episode is that I honestly felt like the whole ending sequence where Rushian was like, okay, well, you know what? There's only one thing left to do, and then they have the wedding ceremony again. I actually kind of wish that they had saved this story for the very end of the series, because honestly, that whole wedding sequence felt like a perfect way to end the series in general.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that.
I felt really satisfied by that. And it's like, if they had just left the series at that, I would have felt totally satisfied and happy.
I agree, but I also think that there's one last thing they can still address. Maybe they've got something else too, but there's the whole. I feel like Akko knows more and understands more than they're really keep trying to imply in the show. And I think the show knows. I think the show gives us hints, but it keeps going back to the whole. She's not Shinibyo, because they've never used that term even once, but she has trouble distinguishing reality from, from virtual reality, and that's not it at all. She doesn't have that problem. And if anything, she's got the strongest intuition of anyone in the whole cast, and she knows what's going on. So I really want to see them do something with that and end it on that note, just not with the characters, but with the theme of the show as well, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree, and I think because they've done the, they get married in the game again to reaffirm their level, because they've kind of done the obvious ending, it makes me curious where they're going to go from here. So, okay, I think it's time we take a little break, and then we'll do our Kohai League. Were you going to say anything, sister?
What?
You have something to say?
No, I was going to say I'm probably not going to join you.
Oh, yeah, it's getting late.
No, well, also, no, I mean, like you said before we started, I'm not actually watching any of the shows we're going to be discussing from now on. I'm just going to be a spectator. So, I guess we can sign me off right here. You know what? I can actually say, two things about the shows that I'm watching that you aren't, like Kabaneri, which I think is just excellent, and is really, after being sort of cynically looked at as just an Attack on Titan clone, is really sort of breaking out on its own and doing some really cool stuff. And
and I admit I made a bad call at the beginning of the season by choosing not to watch that.
I mean, you know what? I think it'll be a really good show to just kind of burn through once it's all out there. Definitely going to be a fun watch. And also the second season of Concrete Revolution, which still continues to be super, super excellent, had a Gen Urobuchi episode this season. Which was weird and Vietnamese and odd, and that show's just crazy, and manages to be both samurai flamenco levels of insanity, but also this really sobering sort of political show.
Oh, Did they have a Kazuki Nakashima episode yet? Because I know he's on the writing staff as well.
I'm not sure. Maybe that's definitely a possibility. But like literally every episode, they have like more weird like robots and aliens and superheroes and gods, and it's just this really joyous, awesome show that I don't think enough people are talking about.
Cool to see, because I was skeptical of it because Sho Aikawa was the head writer, and he did it, and he was involved with Eureka 7 Ow, along with some other shows that I heard were disappointing.
You know what? I don't think it's his fault that show is terrible. I really think my theory, I don't know this for a fact, but my theory is that they very late in the game decided to make it 2 core instead of 4, and then they had to basically just gut their own story. Wow. I think if it was 50 episodes long, it would have been actually way better.
That would actually make sense to me, because I watched a little bit of it, and then it just kind of it wasn't like I hated it at first. I didn't really like it that much, but it just goes to hell.
I wrote a review about it back when it was airing, and basically like in the last like 2 episodes, they try to cram in like 15 episodes worth of story.
Wow.
It's like all of a sudden all this stuff happens and they just blast by it. Like I've never seen anything like it. And it's a shame because it actually is a really clever in the way that it kind of plays off the original. It's a sequel, but not exactly. And like it has a lot of really good ideas, but I really feel like they it was like one of those like production nightmare kind of situation.
Oh, speaking of which, Neon, like I don't know if this is true, but apparently I heard that the original Rekka 7 was apparently going to be a short series, but then because it did good, it ended up being extended to 50 episodes, which ended up benefiting the story in the long run.
There you go. So it's almost like a complete reversal where the original is going to be short and then end up being long, and then the sequel was cut in half. Yeah. All right, so but I guess that's it. I mean, I don't really have anything to say about Bungo Stray Dogs, which is sort of average, I guess.
I know you watched earlier. Sorry, I just want to ask a quick question. I know you were watching it at the beginning of the season. Kurobukuro, have you kept up with that?
Oh yes, I actually have. I mean, I'm not no, because it's not streaming anywhere legally, of course. But I hear tell that it's pretty good. I actually haven't seen the last either 1 or 2. But it kind of took a little bit of a dip, but I thought I think it's really fun.
I'm actually I thought going into it that I was going to hate it. I looked at what they were doing with the productions and I thought I was going to hate it. And I've been like impressed with it. Not every episode, but pretty much every episode. And I don't have anyone to talk about it with. So
yeah, I mean, no, it's definitely been fun. Like I think that it's one of those Netflix shows. Like once the season's over and it'll get released, like the whole thing will get released on Netflix. Like I think some people are gonna get turned on to it.
And the best part is that the Netflix version will be the home release version instead of the broadcast version.
Yeah, so we'll get the best version.
Because the same thing happened with 7 Deadly Sins, which I thought was terrific, and like almost nobody spoke of.
That's the problem.
Until, like, way later.
7 Deadly Sins still like. I feel like most anime fans haven't seen it.
Yeah, and that's a shame because I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that's repeating now with Kurobukuro, and I just like, this makes me so sad that Netflix locked this up.
Did the same thing happen with Knights of Sidonia as well? Because I know that was also a Netflix anime.
Not as much with the first season, because when it was airing, it hadn't been licensed by Netflix yet. I think the second season had a little bit of that effect to it, where like a lot of people almost like didn't know there was a second season. But for some reason, I think more people watched Sidonia than 7 Deadly Sins and now this. I don't know. We'll see.
There was a lot more conversation about it, at least in my circles. There was a lot more conversation about Sidonia. I wasn't even watching Sidonia, but 7 Deadly Sins. I'm like, I bring that. I kind of, on one hand, I kind of appreciate that I can bring that up and be like, haha, if you see this, and then everyone's like, wow, that's amazing.
So like
on the other hand, it's really sad. Yeah, on the other hand, it's really sad that I could do that with people that I don't watch every day.
Funny you mentioned 7 Deadly Sins live, because like my friends they aren't really like big anime watchers, but they all saw 7 Deadly Sins and liked it.
The one we're talking about, the Nasa.
Yeah,
nice.
7 Deadly Sins.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I'm not even that big on shonen in general. It's a really good one though.
Yeah, it's just terrific. Yeah, so I don't know, and I don't know like what'll happen, because I know Netflix is working on their own like original anime now, not a thing they licensed. Yeah, it's called something about Bones, the Bonesy Bones. I can't remember the name of it. The Bones, the
Didn't they have like a big? Didn't they have like a big director on it too?
Yeah, I think so. Let me see. I might be able to quickly Google this as we're talking. The Perfect Bones. I remembered it was some kind of adjective in Bones.
Yeah, I've heard that name.
It's production IG, but Netflix is actually it's gonna be just on Netflix. It's not a show that's airing in Japan and then licensed by like Ajin, like they did with Ajin. It's actually
Produced by Netflix.
Yeah, Kazuto Nakazawa is the director.
Interesting.
So yeah, and I think that's coming later this year, maybe early 2017. But I think that might like sort of prop up like Netflix's anime profile and maybe like turn some people on to the shows they got there.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I hope that it does work out that way.
Okay, so I hate to kind of break up this future of Netflix discussion.
Just ran out of steam.
Sorry.
Okay, thanks for having me, guys and gal.
And it was nice meeting you, Neon.
Yeah, and good luck talking about all these other shows that I haven't watched.
Yeah, I think we're gonna blaze through them pretty fast. It's getting late, so let's hang up so we can then call each other again and talk about more anime. Okay. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to our Kohai League. Getting started with Shonen Maid, episode 7. And when this show first started, I thought that Chihiro's love of cleaning was just that, he's a neat freak, so he just likes everything around him being clean. And now it's beginning to seem as though he likes the act of cleaning itself, and I'm beginning to worry about him. Well, I'm half beginning to worry about him, and half of me is like, okay, how did his mother instill that in him, and how do I replicate it? So, kind of mixed feelings there. But that was my main feeling coming away from the episode. I mean, it was cute and charming, but mostly I was like, why does he like cleaning so much? LB, what do you think about this one?
This was my episode of the week. I just thought it was so sweet and so charming, especially like when Chi and Madoka were on the bed talking about his future dreams. Madoka was getting all into it and making sketches and helping him figure out how he can, turn his passion for cleaning into a career, and, telling him, hey, it's not funny at all to want to be rich. That's a perfectly admirable goal. Excuse me. And then the parent-teacher conference at the end of the episode was hilarious. So yeah, this was my episode of the week. Like I said, this was just such a good episode. I had such fun time with it. It really solidified for me just how underrated I think this show is. Because, I mean, I don't hang out online as much as I used to because I have to work, but it seems like anytime I try to bring this show up to people, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm not watching that. And it's like, but why? It's so good.
Yeah, I really haven't seen much talk about it either. I think it's definitely underrated, at least for maybe when it comes out, maybe when it's all out and people have the opportunity to watch all of it, maybe it'll change, but people are definitely passing over it this season. Although, to be fair, I think the season does have a lot of good shows, so it's it may be in another season Shonen Maid would have been recognized as being good, but this season I think people their resources are being stretched pretty thin, so.
Yeah, I think there's two things going on there. I think part of it is that, there are a lot of really good shows, and the other part of it is Shonen Maid. I mean, you look at the title and what it is, and you're like, I don't want to watch that. Yeah,
you just think it's going to be a one joke sort of show, and it's not going to have any depth to it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine falling for its charm at all by reading a premise or even watching a trailer or anything like. You'd have to actually watch an episode.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll become like, what's the word I'm looking for? The evangelists, that's a better word, ambassadors of Shonen Maid, and let everyone know that it's a really good show. Because actually, now that I think about it, I mean, something I could say about this episode is that I like the fact that because they kind of did the whole thing at the beginning where Madoka was like, well, if you feel weird about living here, we'll just make it like a contract. Okay, you're an employee. But because of that, now that makes it difficult for them to navigate their relationship because Chihiro almost feels like, well, I can't consider him a family member because we kind of have a almost... employer-employee thing. And of course, Madoka doesn't see it that way at all, but, Chihiro feels insecure. And it's interesting how much they managed to do with this premise, basically. So we're going to move on to High School Fleet, episode 8. And this show is doing a weird thing where the major arc one of the major things going on is Mike becoming a captain, like becoming more confident in her leadership, and it just kind of, but it sort of points out all the things about this show that don't make sense, because only in this show would someone who's 14 be appointed a captain having no experience. So, like, at one point in the show, she even says, like, well, I have to make this decision, but all of us could be in danger, so I can't just make it myself. I have to ask the rest of you. And it's like, no, actually, that is your job. Like, only on this show would it be a surprise that the captain needs to make life and death decisions for everybody else. So, as much as I'm still enjoying this, I almost wish they weren't doing the whole, watch Mike become a confident captain thing, because it just kind of shines a light on how it doesn't really hold up under any scrutiny.
Yeah, I kind of had the same thought too, and it would be like, I was hoping they'd go more the Captain Kirk route, which we talked about before. Just let her be her and have it work and have that be the charm, but they're not going that way. They're going the other way, and it's like, I don't really like this.
Yeah. LB?
Yeah, I mean, despite there being some action in this episode, I've said before that, I was really getting into the action sequences and they really got my heart pumping and really had me on the edge of my seat, but I didn't really feel that this episode. It was just like, okay, whatever, things happen. I was more amused by Shiro trying to potty train her cat in the middle of a battle.
Well, I was thinking about that, and I was like, you know how
that just made me cringe so hard.
That just what?
Made me cringe so hard.
Well, I was thinking of how you were saying that you were so into the battles on the show, and I was like, okay, you can have the joke where, they're firing torpedoes at us. Oh no, my cat is peeing, but you can only do that joke so many times before the battles start to lose their feeling of importance,
Mm-hmm.
And this show has passed that level. So, I mean, I wouldn't say there's nothing wrong with the fact that we're not really taking High School Fleet that seriously. I mean, not everything has to be taken seriously. It's just, with the show, sometimes I feel like they really want that. So I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, I get that feeling too. Like, there's the super cute aspect to it, but they want us to take it seriously too. And it kind of works and kind of doesn't. It's weird how it's almost competent, and I can't really fault it too much, but it's not all the way there.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't High School Fleet is not the only show I think has done this, by the way. I mean, I think it's a common problem where they try to do the moe thing, but they also kind of try to do something else, and it's like, well, pick one or the other, because it's a bit...
Yeah, there's definitely other shows like that. I don't know that there's any that are quite so amazingly in the middle as this, but... Yeah, I'll tell you, my disappointment with this episode was that the plan involved something practical, like trying to, make the ship get stuck when the tide goes out.
Oh, wait, were you thinking what I was thinking, and they were going to try to, like, catapult the cat onto the other ship?
Yes, that was what needed to happen! I was so disappointed.
Oh my god, we really do have the same brain. Because they kept showing the cats. I was like, oh my god, is their solution going to be that they're going to catapult the cats over there? The cats are going to kill the evil chinchillas, and then the guys are going to regain sanity.
The only thing that would save this for me is if they're saving that for the other ship. I can't remember its name, but with their friend on it, and that's how they're going to save that ship. Yeah, the Musashi. They're just going to take all the cats from all the different fleets and bombard the ship with cats, and it's going to save the day.
Okay, if that happens, let's all drink.
Yeah.
I don't know how the logistics are going to work because we're all in different states or whatever, but we'll work it out. If that happens, we need to have a drink. Okay. So, ready to move on to Anne Happy? Okay, Anne Happy episode 8, or the episode that launched 1 million PVC figures. Just kind of Anne Happy becomes Final Fantasy Tactics for 1 week for no real reason, and it was fun. But it was basically just a lot of fun for just... I can't remember if the show is by the director of Bakatest or the writer of Bakatest, and I really should know that.
It's the same. I don't know if it's the same writer. It's definitely the same director.
Yeah, but I guess it was kind of... this episode reminded me of Bakatest, and he got a chance to do kind of gamey things that he doesn't normally get to do on the show, so it was fun on that level, but I have noticed that Anne Happy kind of tends to make things more convoluted than they need to be sometimes, because the episode first started with that whole casino business, and then it soon becomes apparent that it's not about the casino at all, it's about the battle arena. So it's like, why did they even bother introducing the whole casino if it was all going to be about them, being Final Fantasy characters for one episode? So
Yeah, and they did do the casino thing for about a minute, and I bet you that in the manga there's a little more to it, or something like that. But they did. Is it a manga? Is it a light novel? I forget. I know it's an adaptation.
I don't remember.
Show
notes.
But yeah, they did definitely skip through that pretty quick. You're right. They could have just been like, we're going to do a battle arena, and it would have been the same thing.
Yeah, and I like the in-joke that Botan
all right,
counts as an undead.
It's a comedy manga series.
Oh, okay.
What were you saying about Botan?
I like the joke that she's like an undead Final Fantasy creature and thus takes damage from her own healing magic.
I love that.
Oh, and it's licensed by Yen Press here.
Ah, cool. I like Anne Happy a lot. I kind of feel like there's this theme to Anne Happy that I really, really love. And at the same time, it's the same thing every episode, and I find myself like, I would never be able to give this like a top rating for anime, but at the same time, I really enjoy it, and I'm glad that they're continuing with it. Like, I could just keep watching episodes of this for a long time.
Yeah, I kind of have the same feeling when I see a new episode of Anne Happy's, when I see a new episode of Bakuon. Like, ooh, gonna watch this right away, and like I know it's not gonna be anybody's greatest anime of all time, but it just makes me happy for the time being. So it makes me Anne happy.
I like what they're doing with it. Yeah.
Well, I do think that the theme of the show, that really happiness or unhappiness has more to do with perspective than inherent circumstances. Maybe, I don't want to say it's underused. Maybe it's underused in anime, or maybe it's underused. When you see it used, it's often done in such a trite way. Whereas I think this is just being done in a fun way. So
yeah, it's just very fun here, and Anne is such a great character. Like there's a couple of jokes that each of the characters have, and I find myself each week just waiting for them to happen, and then like, yes, that was worth this.
Are they, if they make an Anne dancer figure, are you going to buy it?
I might. That would probably be about the only thing from the show I'd consider would be a figure of her, but we'll see.
Okay.
I was going to say the joke that I really liked was actually the fact that they ran out of points. She wasn't able to even. she gets disqualified in the most ridiculous ways. Like you'd think she'd just lose normally. No, her luck is so bad that she can't even lose normally. Everyone just runs out. There's no one else to fight. She has to fight the teacher instead.
Yeah. Okay, so. Move on to Tanaka-kun is always listless, and for me this episode was all about one moment, and it's that moment at the very end where gosh, what's his name? I'm blanking. Hoda, where
Hoda?
Yeah, I think it's Hoda-kun.
Oda, no H.
Oda, okay. I'm just making up names now. Okay, so he gives him the, I'll walk to class on my own coupon. But then Tanaka-kun starts getting lazy in the middle, and finally Oda-kun is like, I can't take this anymore, and just runs back and picks him up and runs. And that just one moment is just so perfectly animated that
yes.
I felt like the whole episode was building to that moment, and it was just the perfect payoff. And I feel like saying anything else would take away from it. Do you feel similarly?
Yeah, I just kind of like... there's not that much to say about Tanaka-kun. It's great every week. I actually just watched the last 2 episodes, and yeah,
I think we didn't actually discuss Tanaka-kun last week. So, what did you think of his sister?
I like the way that they did the joke. I thought the joke was funny. At the same time, like, I know where this is going.
I liked her character, like the way she was a lot like Tanaka-kun, yet strangely industrious. Like, I thought that was... the way they portrayed that was funny, but then when they went the whole she's obsessed with her brother route, I was like, oh, I'm so tired of that.
I am too. But you know what? It's an anime thing. As soon as I found it weird from the beginning of the episode. Like, why isn't this from Shiraishi's perspective? Was it her? No, it can't be her, because they would have done this from her perspective, and she would have been watching him fail at guessing it was her. That would have been the joke. They didn't do that, so. Yeah, then they introduced his sister, and it was like, yeah, no, it's completely backwards of what you think, and that's the joke. And okay, tiresome, but I don't know. It still has the same Tanaka-kun or Tanaka charm that everything else the show has.
Yeah, even when the show does something bad, you can't really be mad at it. So you just pat it on the head. That's okay, Tanaka-kun. Oh, I will say one thing about the show: if you have something you need to do, like edit a podcast, do not watch the show, because you'll watch an episode of the show and be like, oh, I don't really need to do it. It's fine. I'm just gonna chill. Yeah, stuff will not get done.
I think it's interesting, and I don't want to dig too much into this because it's kind of a darker theme, but I watch Tanaka-kun every week, and you're like, if his character were like deathly ill or something, everything would just make sense.
Oh god, if that were like an episode 12 Revelation or something, this would become like retroactively the worst show.
Wouldn't it? That would ruin it.
Okay. Well, thank you for putting that thought in my head.
I don't think they'll do that.
Alright, ready to move on to Haven't You Heard on Sakamoto? And I appreciate the fact that the show has actual continuity, like the fact that they brought back the housewife who's obsessed with Sakamoto. But again, it's Sakamoto. Once you've seen one of them, you've probably seen them all, even though you enjoy it. So we're not going to dwell on that. Unless, Life, you don't have anything to say about this episode in particular, do you? Okay, so LB, you have promised me that you have a date with Sakamoto. It's going to blow mine out of the water. And I'm going to admit, I'm skeptical. So let's hear it.
Well, before I do that, I actually do have something to say about this episode.
Fine,
so if
talk about the episode.
Yes, if you'll forgive me, I just want to say that when I thought that they couldn't do something that made me think Sakamoto was even more awesome than he already was, the second segment just cemented him as even more awesome than anyone could have imagined, because that whole bit where they tied his shoelaces together and then he fell over and did the cheetah run, and then the girl who took the baton from him fell, and Sakamoto didn't get angry. He just pointed out, it's like, you know what? You were going after me, but she's the one who's suffering. And the fact that he was thinking about her rather than anything else, I was just like, that's awesome. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Although now that you said that,
anyways,
you did remind me.
That's what I wanted to say about the episode.
You did remind me about how there's another joke at the... I want to call him the fat guy. He's really actually not even fat. He's just kind of the dude with the pot belly. And I feel like they keep showing... I call him
B-guy.
What?
I call him B-guy.
B-guy?
Yeah, because he showed up in the B segment, and he always wears the yellow and black striped underwear, so...
Yeah,
okay.
He is the B guy.
Oh, okay. I just kind of felt like they seem to keep doing this joke with him where we see him with his shirt off and he has a pot belly, and that in and of itself is supposed to be a joke, and I feel like maybe I'm missing something. I'm like, okay, so he's a little fat. What's the joke here?
I can explain the joke. It's that he's a model, and he's a model because he's got the pretty boy foreigner look. That's the joke. He's actually not all that attractive. That's the joke. Well,
okay, I got that he was a model, and I don't know. Maybe I just thought... Sometimes I think there's something more to it, and then it's like, no, there really isn't. You're just, I don't know. So, I'm looking for something that isn't there. But anyway, now, important things. Date with Sakamoto.
Yes, okay, so this is going to take a couple of minutes, so I'll tell you when I'm done. So, alright, here's
Wait,
my...
is this going to be X-rated? Because we haven't submitted to iTunes yet. I don't want to get, an adults-only rating.
You're not going to have to bleep me at any point.
Okay.
Okay, but this is going to take just a minute, so, forgive me, and I'll tell you when I'm all done.
Okay.
So, alright, on the day of my dream date with Sakamoto, I would fret all day about what to wear before finally settling for a charcoal gray suit with a blue tie, and Sakamoto would be wearing his school uniform still, because that's how he rolls. I would coyly ask him what he wanted to do, and he would gaze into my eyes and tell me that I could choose because this date is all about making me happy, to which I would reply that just being with him was enough to make me happy. After enjoying light conversations and lattes on the patio of a French cafe, we would stroll along the city streets window shopping. I would point out an outfit that I really want but remark that I have no money, at which point he would disappear from sight like he does. I would get sad and begin my walk home all alone, feeling that he no longer wanted to be with me because I am but a poor starving artist, but when I get back to my house, I would find him waiting for me on my front porch with the outfit in question plus 11 roses in a bouquet. The 12th rose is in between his teeth, if you're wondering. I would laugh, and he would take me in his arms, at which point we would take a drive under the moonlight to a cliff which overlooks the glittering city below us. He would then turn on some soft music, probably J-pop, because he knows my tastes from our discussion over coffee earlier in the date, and we would dance together with the entire city as our audience. I'm done.
You gave yourself an unlimited budget for this date. That's not fair.
You didn't say I couldn't.
I have to outline the terms more clearly next time. Because, all right, I have to admit, you guys dancing like on top of a cliff, like with the whole city below you. Yeah, that is pretty romantic. I mean, I thought my swimming with the dolphins was pretty romantic, but yours might be better. All right. I'll have to try again next week. I'm not letting this go.
Okay, that's fine. If you think you can beat that, then you just go ahead and try.
We'll be on like year 4 of the podcast, and no one will even remember what season Sakamoto aired, and we'll still be like trying to top each other with dates with Sakamoto. It'll be great.
Wait a second, Karen. Weren't you gonna retaliate with your date for this week, or are you gonna wait for next week the counter?
No, this was LB's week to share his romantic fantasy. I think having 2 at once might be overkill. It might be just too much romance. Would have to be classified as a romance novel podcast. Okay, so getting to the back end here. We're going to move on to Super Lovers, episode 9. Actually, we should discuss 8 too, because we didn't discuss it last week. I've noticed with the show, and this is probably just shoddy writing, but it seems like what the characters think and know about their relationships seems to change on like a moment-to-moment basis, and it's really disorienting. Because at one point, the person I can't remember the name of, I want to say transvestite, but that sounds almost like harsh. But I think that's just accurate. I mean, it is a guy who identifies as a guy, but who likes dressing as a girl. So that would be transvestite, right? Yeah. Well, anyway.
I don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
I don't.
So anyway, the boy who dresses like a girl and tends the bar made a comment that the way Ren feels about Haru is like imprinting, like the way the dog in White Fang imprints on his master. And Haru gets upset because he knows that she has a point. But then it's like, it doesn't seem to me like Haru would actually understand the situation enough to realize that's what happened with Ren until suddenly he does. But then, like, in other scenes, it seems like he doesn't really understand the nature of their relationship, so I'm just confused. And yet, Super Lovers is another show that when I see there's a new episode, I'm like, yay, oh boy! So even the bad writing, for some reason, I'm still enjoying it. And I'm glad they finally opened the cafe. Life?
Yeah, I mean, you pointed out one of the things I was going to say is that the relationship just, like, it keeps forgetting where it's at. It picks up and it just does whatever it wants at any given point. And it is just kind of, okay, whatever. I feel like he's been doing that since the beginning of the show, and I'm kind of just over it at this point. I give it up. They're never going to be consistent.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they change their minds about what kind of a person Haru really is, like, not only every episode, but like every 5 minutes.
Yeah, or even just that he forgets, like, the progress. Like, he's got amnesia or something that kicks in, and then...
Oh, wait, didn't they, like, actually forget that he has amnesia, or did he get his memory back or something?
You know what? They did actually use amnesia as a plot twist in this show. But I don't think it's relevant anymore. Yeah,
it's not relevant anymore because he'll talk about things that he did with Ren in Canada, and that's... Oh, wait, no, maybe he... But then they've been to Canada twice, so... Oh, goddamn it.
Yeah, no. He remembered. There was a moment where he remembered. I don't know if you remember everything, but I'm pretty sure that he did, and they haven't mentioned it since, so it's poor storytelling either way if he still has amnesia and it's important and they haven't brought it up again.
I've got to ask, if the writing is this inept, I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying it. Why am I enjoying it?
Yeah, because I think they're still pushing the drama in the right way. I mean, like the things it's doing that work, they can just kind of restart it and it works. Then you stop and you look at the greater context, and it's like, okay, it's a mess, but it works in each individual moment, in each individual episode. So it's like each individual scene doesn't necessarily have bad writing. It's just you watch one scene, you're like, wait, that scene at the beginning of the episode and this scene, they don't add up. They're both individually competent. So
yeah, it's weird that this show is incompetently written in such a bizarre way.
Yeah, I'll say that another thought I had watching these latest 2 episodes back to back is, Haru has, like, I feel like he has 3 different lives at this point, 3 different backstories. Like, has he even been alive long enough for all of this stuff? I don't know.
Well, he's apparently worked in the host club for years and made money.
Yeah, he worked in the host club for years. He grew up with what's her name. He grew up with a different set of parents in Japan. How many lives does this guy have?
Yeah, his whole past is just very, very convoluted. Everything about the show is convoluted at this point.
Yeah.
Although I will say they finally introduced a female character who I think was meant to be semi-sympathetic, so it finally happened. I mean, Bartender Girl was sort of sympathetic, but then they revealed that's actually a man, so...
Yeah, who was the other character? The blonde?
No, the one that the Shima is tutoring.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to like her.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to like her, but she hasn't done anything overtly obnoxious yet. My standards are pretty low here.
I think the implication is that she's manipulating the main, the other brother.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I just wanted to believe there was one female character who wasn't awful.
I know that they also threw the blonde in one of these latest episodes, and one of the first things the other dude says, the friend character says, Ren's friend character says is, "Oh look, she's like a dude." And I'm like, is she gonna be a dude?
Wait,
is that gonna be? Are they gonna do that again?
Wait, who is the blonde character?
I don't know. She only showed up for a minute or two. She might never show up again.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
that was weird. They acted like she had been in it before, and I was like, I have no idea who this person is. Introduction, please.
Yeah. I don't know if she's shown up before or not, but the way they did it made me think, okay, they must have shown her and I just forgot. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I might be giving them too much credit. They probably never showed her, and I don't remember her because she didn't show up.
Is this kind of like how Marcel Proust, didn't keep accurate notes, so he sometimes introduced characters twice and stuff like that? Okay, this is probably the only time on the internet that super lovers will be compared to Marcel Proust, so, we've got that going for us. Okay, moving on to...
What did Marcel Proust write or work on?
He wrote In Search of Lost Time. It's a very famous French novel that's notoriously difficult to get through. And you don't get much for getting through it either, but I'll rant about that another day. Okay, and we're going to move on to Cerberus, which I think I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time. It's spelled Cerberus, not Cerberus, but whatever. Who even cares? I should have disliked this episode because it was kind of fillerish, just kind of Eren filling in people in about the plot, and Serato and Hiro on a side quest to get Giru back in fighting shape. The thing is, I liked both Serato and Eren, so I didn't even mind the fact that this episode was a little bit fillerish. Did you agree, Lifesong?
Yeah, I don't really think it was fillerish, and the reason I don't really think it is fillerish is because I think that Serato and her part in the story is probably going to be one of the most important parts of what it's doing. So they really needed to kind of clue us in on how... I mean, what this episode did was it gave Serato a way to relate back to every other character in the cast. And they all kind of were stopping to sit around and question, what is Serato? Why is she the way that she is? And just kind of come to terms with who she is. I don't know that they needed to do that, but I like the fact that they did.
Yeah, I liked that too. Yep, filler is probably the wrong word. It's just... I guess I just felt like it was kind of like, well, it wasn't pointless to go get the magical plant or whatever, because they saved Giru's life, and I imagine he appreciated that. But it was kind of like, it seemed like a whole complication that didn't really need to happen. Like, why couldn't they just, buy him medicine like normal people?
I agree.
So.
They did say that they couldn't buy it because it was super expensive. And you know what? I think that little mascot character that shows up, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that's probably like the premium shop merchant in the game or something like that.
That would make sense.
I'm just guessing. I don't know, but that would make a lot of sense to me. And they couldn't afford it.
Well, maybe people who actually play this mobile game are watching this show like, oh yeah, that's right. You know how expensive those items are. All right,
Maybe I have a feeling there's not too much gamey stuff actually here, but who knows? Maybe that seems like something they would include from the game.
And it does seem like that bit they include at the beginning of every episode about the Three Nations is actually relevant, so I stand corrected.
Yeah, I think it probably is. Well, it obviously is, and Eren's probably one of the factions in some way.
See, I don't think she's necessarily affiliated with one of the three countries. I think she's an independent operator who is in it for Eren.
I think I might even like that more. That would be okay with me. She seems like she's got to have some kind of connections, but who knows?
Yeah, I think she just wants to sell information or whatever she has to the highest bidder, and she'll use anyone she can. But of course, she's kind of the little mean cat girl with the heart of gold. So we still like her.
And I'm cool with that. I think that what the show. I mean, the show's going to end soon. They've got to bring it all to a close, and they're even kind of hinting, you guys need to hurry. I'm very interested to see. Well, I don't know. Very interested is the right term. I'm interested to see how they're gonna, tie things up with Dagonzot and Serato. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed this by now, but Serato she even has the things in her hair that look like Dagonzot on the ground. I mean, I don't think they could imply any harder that she's related to the dragons.
Yeah, it's just the question of how they're going to develop that, because
it's really going to either make or break the show.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Okay, so we're going to move on to our Chibi League and Tonkatsu DJ Agetarou, episode 8. Why do I have no memory? Oh, EDM. Yes. I didn't really know what EDM was before this episode, and I kind of still don't, but I still enjoyed Tonkatsu DJ Agetarou. Sal?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool. I'm still confused with the whole EDM term. The closest thing I heard to it was in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 4. They just did a version of the opening calling it the EDM version. So that's the closest thing I know to maybe what EDM kind of is. But yeah, it was kind of interesting about how Tonkatsu had to go through that change of having to adjust his DJing skills to a younger audience versus his old school method that appealed to the older people.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that Agetarou, this DJ who was DJ'd one party, is now these young whippersnappers. They don't understand my old school music. So.
Oh, and I thought it was amazing when he brought that one Korean DJ to tears.
Oh yeah, I know what I wanted to say about the show. That Tonkatsu DJ Agetarou is just healing the rift between Japan and Korea, one DJ at a time, and it's actually kind of touching. There is no bad blood between the two nations now. This show has solved that problem. Life, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I just realized I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, you get on that, young gentleman. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Life is the youngest on the podcast.
Yeah, I can call you a young whippersnapper.
Yeah, I just I watched. I think I watched the last episode and catching up, and the new one wasn't out yet. And I guess I just completely forgot to watch the new one because I hear you guys talking about it. I'm like, I don't remember any of that, so I obviously haven't seen it.
Now, let me just put one question out there. The thing that I don't get about EDM is that, okay, I know what electronic dance music is. I think I used to listen to that, back in the 90s and stuff, but I don't know what makes today's EDM different from the stuff I used to, rollerblade to back when I was, 15. So maybe I need to research this. See, Tonkatsu DJ Agetarou makes me want to learn. So I guess it's a good show for that reason, alone. Okay, we're going to move on to Space Patrol Luluco episode 9, which I was not as into as the past couple episodes because I didn't see whatever short from the Triggerverse that this one was alluding
Sex,
to.
Violence, and Mach Speed. Yeah, it was part of the Japan Animator Expo project, which started in 2014, went all the way to 2015, which is basically Ano and the Kara and the music company Dwango created this whole web project where it's they went up to a bunch of different animators, want to make a short where you can have full creative control over your property? Well, us at Kara and Dwango will help you with the resources to do that.
Oh, and you can air anything. It doesn't matter. It can be something that's totally not that we can't show on TV.
And pretty much Trigger hopped on this, and they actually made a couple shorts for the project besides just Sex, Violence, and Mach Speed.
Okay, I was only dimly aware that all had happened, so I saw this episode and I was like, oh, this is related to that thing I know nothing about. So I really didn't get much out of the part of the episode that dealt with that whole universe.
I mean, the anime short was basically what if a Trigger anime did cocaine? I mean, that's pretty much what it is.
And the humor
was basically
a Trigger anime that is sober and already at that level went and did cocaine.
Okay,
and it also felt like Penny and Stocking season 2 in a way, the humor and stuff.
Yeah, I really didn't know what I was even watching.
Interestingly, I don't know if this is true from what I watched, but from the looks of it, it looks like it's basically the whole animation of Sex, Violence, and Mach Speed, just that they inserted Luluco into the scene and added a few animated segments to make Luluco fit in the segment.
They even made a joke about her being the colored one.
Yeah.
Oh, and another interesting thing too, for the whole Animator Expo project, every character was voiced by Megumi Hayashibara and Koichi Yamadera.
Oh, really?
No one else. Yep, and I think they kept that consistent in this episode too.
See, that would have been interesting if they did that like 15 years ago when every anime literally was voiced by those two. So, it'd be an interesting commentary on the state of the industry, but it's not really true anymore. But anyway, back to Luluco. So since I wasn't really that interested in the setting this time around, I was focusing on Luluco and Nova. And at the end where he's like, "You're very precious to me, Luluco," I'm like, he can't possibly mean that, can he? He's a sociopath. So, Life, what did you think?
I don't know. I don't know what that was about. It was like, well, why is he saying that? And I expected there to be some joke associated with it, and they didn't give us the joke yet. So, the verdict's out?
What?
The verdict is out?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's highly suspicious. Sal?
Yeah, highly suspicious.
Mm-hmm. I was just surprised to see them reference sex, violence, and mock speed, because I never thought we'd go back to that show.
Yeah. Also, wasn't it surprising to see this show actually finish an arc? Like, they found Ogakubo, whatever the hell it's called, and they can go home now?
Yeah.
Like, seriously?
Oh, yeah,
Wait,
yeah. Right,
is
right.
that really
They
the
give it
real...
to her.
But the thing is that the real Ogakubo? You know, so we'll have to wait until season 4 premieres.
Oh, God,
They handed her like a cereal box-sized package.
Yeah, but if you watch the episode where Luluco's mom steals it, like, that's what it becomes. They zap it with something, and it becomes like that.
Is that
package.
what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Haha. For once, I remembered something that you didn't. I remembered something that you didn't.
You're way too happy about that.
I have to enjoy
Like,
this
hooray
moment.
for Karen.
I have to enjoy this moment because it will never come again. Anyway.
And the best part of that, it was a short. So
Don't take away from my triumph, Sal.
no, I'm saying that's the best part, because usually this would be something that Life could easily catch. 'Cause it's only 7 minutes.
My brain is shutting off at this. You guys can take it.
All right, so hopefully Luluco will do something completely different next week, and I'll actually know what to make of it next week, and maybe I'll figure out what the hell's going on with Nova, because I do not trust that boy. He better not break Luluco's heart. That's all I can say. Although I think the ending is foreshadowing that he's going to. So.
Yeah, it's
there's no way
it's gonna be a big arc with Nova with some unexpected trigger twist, which is gonna be awesome.
It just better not have like a panty and stocking ending. That would piss me off.
Where he stabs her and it ends.
I'm sorry?
Where he stabs her and it ends. I haven't actually seen the panty and stocking ending. I just know that one of them betrays the other one, and then they're like, "Ha, we're done."
Yeah. Don't do that, Trigger. Listen to me. I know you listen to this podcast. Okay, so we're going to finish off with Pan de Peace, which was not very useful to me this week because it was all about getting the girls in maid costumes with cat ears. And if that is your specific fetish, I guess this episode was just like a holiday for you. But for me, I didn't really get much out of it. Sal?
It was a little cute. I think the good part about that at the end, how the rival baker girl's gonna actually visit their bakery. So it'll be neat to see how the drama is gonna play out next week for that scene. I
still have hope that this show will eventually like devolve into a clone of Yakitate Japan, and they'll just be having bread offs and stuff. So that this episode did make it seem like that is a possibility still. So
yeah. I mean, because rival bakeries.
Life?
Did they have their one joke?
I'm thinking.
I don't think they had a joke this time.
Only running thing was that the French bread girl looked cute in a maid outfit.
That's not a joke.
Well,
I know.
Could you count what's her name? The girl who's affiliated with the other bakery, the Foya bakery or whatever. She kind of had a stink face look whenever the French bakery girl was around. I guess you could sort of count that as a visual joke.
That's such a weak thing. I guess.
Yeah, it was really... you kind of have to stretch to say that they had a joke this week, so... oh well, maybe next week they'll have a whole 2 jokes or 3 jokes and really knock us on our asses.
Yeah, well, 3, that would be like half the show.
That would be insane. Okay. It was a long haul, but I think we're done for this week, guys, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for listening, listeners. Thanks to Neontaster for guesting on this podcast, and I think we're done for this evening. So be safe, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.